Chapter 99 The little girl is quite capable. _4. Enai Chingue wasn't exaggerating. Considering Enai Yang's culinary skills, she felt that even 20 yuan would be worth it, let alone 10 yuan. However, Enai Tsuehua insisted on giving back the 5 yuan to Enai Chingue. Sister Chingue, integrity is crucial. We agreed on 5 yuan. I can't take an extra 5 more from you. If you refuse to take back your money, I won't let you join us for meals at our house tomorrow. Despite never having received an education, Enai Tsuehua understood principles and valued promises. She knew it was wrong to take advantage of others. Though indeed, Enai Yang's cooking was delicious, it didn't cost much. Furthermore, their relationship with Enai Chingue was excellent, just like family, and they didn't fret over that 5 yuan. Seeing Enai Tsuehua like this, Enai Chingue had no choice but to take back the 5 yuan. Her admiration for Enai Tsuehua increased even more. At this moment, Enai Yang was bustling around in the kitchen. She was preparing the food she would bring to Grandma Emo tomorrow morning. The elderly woman's appetite wasn't great, and she would feel tired of eating the same thing all the time, so Enai Yang had specially compiled a menu. She planned different meals for Monday, Tuesday, striving to avoid repetitions. Tomorrow was Tuesday and on the menu was 1. Toast. 2. Jujube longan porridge. The Depay herbal book states, longan nourishes the spleen and stomach, enriches blood and the heart, moistens the 5 viscera, and treats palpitations. Elderly people tend to have deficiency in both energy and blood. This porridge not only stimulates the appetite, but also replenishes energy and blood, and nourishes the body. 3. Cold mixed sour and spicy ear mushrooms. The record of herbs collected in Lingnan says, ear mushrooms are used to treat dysentery caused by damp heat. The Fujian folk herbal medicine records, ear mushrooms relieve heat, smooth intestines, cure abscesses, detoxify, and treat appendicitis. Therefore, for elderly people, these mushrooms are an exceptional dish, especially for those suffering from rheumatic diseases. Rheumatism happens to be a common illness among the elderly. Enai Yang was not only ensuring she ate well, but also ensuring Grandma Emo was well fed. If she had accepted Li Gongcheng's money, she must serve with all her heart and effort. After settling the menu, Enai Yang started kneading the dough for fermentation, and left it until the next morning to bake. After finishing work in the kitchen, Enai Yang finally took a bath. After her bath, she delivered all the money she made today to Enai Tsuehua. Today she sold more than 600 portions of noodles and 300 cups of sour plum soup, earning a total of 210 yuan. These days, Enai Yang was making more money each day, and Enai Tsuehua had gradually gotten used to it. Mum, Enai Yang asked while drying her hair, how much money have we made in total? She had been selling noodles for almost 2 months, but she didn't know how much more she needed to buy a store. Enai Tsuehua replied, let me go count it. All this time, Enai Tsuehua had only been hiding the money and had never counted it. As the saying goes, wealth should not be exposed. So before taking out the money, Enai Tsuehua made sure to close the doors and windows and tightly draw the curtains, leaving no gaps. Soon, Enai Tsuehua brought out a small red wooden box from under the bed. As soon as they opened the box, both mother and daughter were stunned. The box was packed full with money. There were 5-cent coins, 10-cent notes, and larger denomination notes. Enai Tsuehua had been too busy to notice when she put the money in that the box was already filled to the brim. That's a lot of money. Enai Yang emptied all the money on the bed, and her eyes sparkled. Enai Tsuehua exclaimed in surprise, I've never seen so much money in my entire life. Thinking that her daughter earned all this money made Enai Tsuehua swell with pride. Her daughter was truly amazing. Mum, let's count how much we have. Okay. Enai Tsuehua nodded her head. Mother and daughter sat down on the bed and began counting money. About 15 minutes later, after counting all the money on the bed, Enai Yang said, I have 4,965 yuan and 3 cents. How much do you have, Mum? Suppressing her surprise, Enai Tsuehua replied, I have 3,035 yuan and 97 cents. How much is that in total? Without hesitation, Enai Yang said, that's 8,001 yuan in total. Enai Tsuehua swallowed hard and said incredulously, by 8,000 yuan? Oh my God! How could it be so much money? And Ai Tsuehua could never have imagined she would have so much money. 8,000 yuan. This sum was more than what an average person would earn in several years. That's terrifying. In contrast to Enai Kuihua's shock, Enai Yang's face didn't show any particular expression. Earning 8,000 yuan was within her expectations. Chapter 100. The little girl is quite capable. _5. It was precisely because the 80s were full of business opportunities that money came in fast. Enai Yang laughed and said, Mom, don't be surprised. Actually, 8,000 yuan isn't much. The shop I'm interested in is 508 yuan per square meter, and it's a total of 50 square meters, requiring more than 20,000 yuan. The money we have right now isn't even half of that amount. All calculations done, she realized that if she worked hard, she could buy a store by the end of the year. In the future, the price of real estate in Beijing had already risen to astronomical heights, especially for retail spaces. Therefore, Enai Yang decided to buy more shops and houses to hold on to. When she no longer needed to do the noodle business in the future, Enai Tsuehua could just sit at home and collect rent. When she thought of a promising future, Enai Yang couldn't help but smile. Enai Chingue exclaimed in surprise, Why are stores so expensive? Enai Yang laughed and said, Because the location is not bad. This price is already a bargain. In this era, being a self-employed entrepreneur was not a prestigious job. So many people were reluctant to do business, thus leading to lower prices for real commercial properties. Although Enai Yang thought it was a bargain, others perceived it as expensive. After all, the average wage for workers during this era was around 30 or 40 yuan per month. After Li Xianxian returned from the Mo family, she made a phone call to Dam Village from a public phone booth. Since it took some time to connect the call, and to call Li Shu, almost half an hour had passed. When Li Shu picked up the phone, she was so antsy, fearing that her daughter would ask about Enai Yang. As expected, right after saying hello, the second thing Li Xianxian asked was about Enai Yang. Swallowing nervously, Li Shu tried to calm herself down and said, Xianxian, don't worry. Mu Yang, that damned girl, has been picked up by that old bachelor. In this situation, Li Shu could only choose to withhold the truth. If she were to reveal the truth to Li Xianxian would surely blame her for not being able to handle such a simple task. She didn't want her daughter to be disappointed in her for being an incompetent mother. Enai Yang left Dam Village with her incapable mother, 2 women with a burden, penniless. They may have already starved to death by now. They were no threat to Li Xianxian, who was far away in Beijing. Moreover, Enai Yang was just a country bumpkin. Her daughter Li Xianxian was a university student, and the lifesaver of a person of high status, with a promising future ahead of her. Enai Yang was nothing in comparison to Li Xianxian. Thinking like this helped Li Shu feel much reassured. Fearing any oversights, Li Xianxian asked, By the way, Mom, is Mu Yang's mother surnamed Enai? Li Xianxian remembered that the reason why Enai Yang was called Enai Yang was because, like herself, she took her mother's surname. In fact, Li Xianxian and Enai Yang came from similar family backgrounds. Fortunately, she got out of that cage early on. Yes, that's right. Mu Yang's mother is called Enai Tsuehua, Li Shu replied. Upon hearing this, Li Xianxian felt a lot more assured. It appeared that she was overthinking. Mu Yang was Enai Yang. The little Enai who cooked for Mrs. Mo had nothing to do with Enai Yang. Li Xianxian continued. Mom, be sure to keep an eye on Mu Yang. Don't let her have any chance to escape or rebound. Saying this, a malicious glint flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes. Li Shu originally wanted to ask Li Xianxian why she was so wary of Enai Yang, but fearing that her daughter would detect something, she held back her question. Xianxian, rest assured, I will not let her escape. Li Shu's legs were trembling as she said this. Thankfully, she didn't tell Li Xianxian the truth just now. Otherwise, who knows how angry Li Xianxian would be. Li Xianxian continued. Right, I sent you some money a few days ago. You should receive it in a few days. Don't forget to collect it at the post office. All right, Xianxian. I got it. Li Shu replied. Take good care of yourself out there. Don't let me worry about you. Li Xianxian casually replied a few sentences before hanging up. At the same time, the rock hanging in her heart finally fell to the ground. Li Shu, having hung up the phone on her end, also breathed a sigh of relief. No, she needed to go back and pray to the Bodhisattva, hoping that the Bodhisattva would bless that little wretch, and Yang, to die early. Otherwise, she would always feel restless. Chapter 101. The little girl is quite capable. _6. Mo family. While tidying up the living room, Mrs. Mo suddenly discovered a glass bottle in the bag that Li Gongqing had sent over in the morning. The bottle held a deep purple-red liquid that looked very appealing. So Mrs. Mo placed a call to Li Gongqing to inquire. Upon hearing his explanation, Mrs. Mo asked puzzledly, "Sour plum soup? The kind that you can drink?" Li Gongqing responded, "Yes, exactly. This was made by Boss Xiaoni. It tastes good. You could give it a try, madam." Having full trust in Yang's cooking skills, after hanging up the phone, Mrs. Mo opened the bottle of sour plum soup, poured a cup, took a small sip, and then couldn't help but drink all the soup in the cup in one gulp. It was delicious. Mrs. Mo had never tasted such good sour plum soup before. Just then, Mo Qishan walked in from outside. Mrs. Mo beckoned Mo Qishan, saying, "Old Six, come here, Mom has something good for you." "What is it?" Mo Qishan approached curiously. Mrs. Mo poured the last bit of sour plum soup into the cup and passed it to Mo Qishan. "Try this. I guarantee, you've never had such delicious sour plum soup." Sour plum soup? Sweet? Mo Qishan frowned. In his life, he despised sweet things the most. Just as he was about to turn it down, Mrs. Mo continued, "Go ahead, give it a try. It really tastes good. Wouldn't your mother deceive you?" Dubious, Mo Qishan took over the cup and tentatively took a small sip. The flavor was surprisingly good. It was sour and sweet, delightful to the taste. And it carried with it a hint of osmanthus fragrance. Tasted better than any other beverage he had ever had. Gulp gulp. Mo Qishan finished the sour plum soup in the cup in one gulp, and even had a lingering taste for it. Mrs. Mo chuckled. "See, didn't I tell you it's delicious?" Mo Qishan nodded. "Indeed, it's pretty good. Mom, where do you get such a treasure?" Upon hearing this, Mrs. Mo immediately told Mo Qishan about the pickled vegetable noodles, and praised Yang from start to finish. For some reason, whenever he heard this name, Yang's beautiful face appeared in Mo Qishan's mind. The little girl was talented. Having only met her once, she made him feel head over heels. It seemed he had to start dealing with a few things. It shouldn't affect his pursuit of his future wife. "What are you laughing at?" Mrs. Mo asked in curiosity, as she watched Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan replied with a serious face. "I'm happy, Mom. You've got an appetite, everything tastes good, and you're incredibly healthy. Why wouldn't I, as your son, be happy?" "You rascal, only think of amusing your mom." Mrs. Mo patted Mo Qishan's shoulder cheerfully. Then Mo Qishan took out a high-end gift box. "Mom, I also have a gift for you. Open it and see." Mrs. Mo was stunned at first, then opened the box. Inside it was a set of emerald jewelry in excellent condition. The magnificent green shade of the jade was clear and unblemished, reminiscent of a pure jade spring, tranquil and elegant with a vibrant verdant luster, without a trace of flaws, dazzling yet exuding a soft, dignified aura. One can tell at a glance that it was worth a fortune. Mo Qishan asked, "Mom, do you like it?" Satisfied with her son's filial piety, Mrs. Mo burst into laughter. Like it. Like it. Anything given by her son, even if it's a useless piece of stone, she would also love it. She promptly had the maid store away the set of jewelry, then took out 2 cards from her pocket and handed them to Mo Qishan. "You rascal, keep these cards." Deep down, Mrs. Mo was aware of the value of that jade jewelry set. Probably, this rascal spent all his money just to cheer her up. What a rascal! At least he's filial. It was worthwhile doting on him so much. Mo Qishan declined. "I am so grown up now. Do I still need money from you? I do have money. You don't have to worry about me." Chapter 102. Mr. Mog, his new attracting move? _1 rich? This was already the umpteenth time that Mo Qishan had told Mrs. Mo that he was rich, but Mrs. Mo never actually took his words to heart. After all, Mo Qishan had dropped out of school in his second year of high school. even disappearing for a while, and never continued his education afterwards. He didn't even complete high school, let alone university. So, at most, you could say Mo Chishan had a junior high school education. Nowadays, factories were only hiring those with at least a high school diploma. Moreover, Mo Chishan wasn't holding any positions in any of the Mo family's businesses either. So, how could a man with so much free time have any money? Don't put on a brave face in front of your mother. Put your money away. Mrs. Mo gently patted Mo Chishan's hand and said meaningfully, "My dear sixth child, I never expected you would make a big success in this life. As long as you are safe and sound, that's all that matters. Our family has lots of money, all of which I am saving for you, so you don't have to worry about the future. All mother wants now is for you to bring back that girl from the Zhao family and give her a big, chubby grandson." Mo Chishan helplessly rubbed his nose and laughed. "Zhao Jingrong is a talented student from France. Do you think I'm good enough for her? Don't be absurd." Mrs. Mo scolded. "The Zhao family is very reliable and generous, and Jingrong is indeed a rare good girl. You two have been betrothed in advance, and they definitely won't renege on their promise." Mrs. Mo and Mo Fuhai were on the same page. They both placed their utmost trust in the Zhao family. Generous? The people of the Zhao family really were generous indeed. Mo Chishan chuckled and remained silent. After going upstairs, Mo Chishan made a phone call. Mo Chishan held the phone, and unlike his usual casual demeanor, he appeared composed and somber. If others were to see him now, they would surely be taken aback. When did a usually unproductive and idle person start to emanate such a powerful aura? "Hello, it's time to leak the news to the Zhao family." After uttering this sentence, Mo Chishan hung up the phone. In the blink of an eye, Mo Chishan reverted back to his usual self, as if what had just happened was merely an illusion. The next day, she had to prepare breakfast for Mrs. Mo. Ai Yang got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Unexpectedly, Ai Tsuehua had woken up even earlier. At this time, not only had Ai Tsuehua already stoked the oven for the bread, but she had also tidied up all the stuff that Ai Yang needed for her stall. With Ai Kuihua's help, Ai Yang's work was completed much faster. She first kneaded the fermented dough into the shape of bread, and placed it into the oven to bake. Then she began to stir-fry. All the ingredients were prepared the night before, so all she needed to do was wash them, and she was ready to cook. While Ai Yang was stir-frying, Ai Tsuehua sat by the stove and kept the fire going. In no time, the small kitchen was filled with the fragrant smell of the dishes. When the dishes were done, the bread was also almost ready. Ai Yang made a dozen or so loaves of bread. She took 2 with her to give to Mrs. Mo, ate 1 herself, and left the remaining 7 for Ai Tsuehua and Ai Chingue. There's nothing like sipping porridge, munching on bread, and enjoying some tangy radish slices for breakfast. After breakfast and after preparing everything, Ai Yang set off for the morning market. At 5:30, Ai Yang arrived at the morning market on time. Although she arrived earlier than usual that day, there were already quite a few customers waiting for her. "Little boss, you're finally here. Do you have sour plum soup this morning?" Ai Yang smiled and replied, "Yes, I've prepared 500 servings for this morning." With everyone's help, it didn't take long for the stove and tables and chairs to be set up. Li Gongqing arrived a bit later than usual that morning, so by the time it was his turn, he handed his thermos to Ai Yang, excitedly saying, "Xiaoni, our old lady really loves the breakfast you make. From now on, could you please make her breakfast every day? The one who pays is the boss, and you do what the boss said." Ai Yang took the thermos and smiling said, "No problem, it's my duty. Does the old lady want the usual breakfast this morning?" Li Gongqing nodded. "Yes, and also a cup of sour plum soup." Although Head had sour plum soup before, those soups didn't taste even 1/3 as good as the one made by Ai Yang. After a sip, Li Gongqing fell in love with that taste. It was simply amazing. When Li Gongqing arrived at the Mo family after eating his noodles, it was exactly 7 o'clock. At this time, Mrs. Mo had been waiting impatiently in the living room. Mrs. Mo. Chapter 103. Mr. Mog, his new attracting move? _2. Xiaoli. Seeing Li Gongqing, Old Lady Mo excitedly stood up. Li Gongqing handed the bag to Old Lady Mo, Old lady, this is your breakfast for this morning. Good, good, good. Old Lady Mo immediately opened the bag, a bit disappointed. How come there's no sour plum soup this morning? Li Gongqing explained. Boss Xiaoni said that elderly people shouldn't eat too much sweet stuff, so she didn't prepare sour plum soup for you. Oh, Old Lady Mo nodded. This Boss Xiaoni does know quite a lot. Strangely, Old Lady Mo felt a warmth in her heart. It was fine that there was no sour plum soup. After all, Boss Xiaoni's cooking skills were top-notch. Old Lady Mo now was surely An Yang's #1 fan. Li Gongqing continued. Old lady, you eat first, I'll be going now. Yep, go ahead with your work. As soon as Li Gongqing left, Old Lady Mo opened the thermos box. The thermos box and yesterday's are in pairs. In total, there were 3 layers. The first layer was jujublangan porridge. The second layer was sour and spicy ear mushrooms. The third layer contained 2 items wrapped in oil paper. It was unclear what they were. Old Lady Mo was curious. As she unwrapped the oil paper layer by layer, a fragrant sweet milky aroma immediately hit her face. What met her eyes was a golden, glistening bread. The crust was crispy and the inside fluffy and delicate. As she gently broke it apart, steam could be seen emanating from inside. It smelled delicious. Old Lady Mo took a deep breath. This Xiaoni really did surprise her every morning. Old Lady Mo had eaten buns and steamed buns, as well as bread bought from outside. But this was the first time she had eaten such tasty bread. The taste, it was simply amazing. Why was she so fond of Xiaoni? Unconsciously, Old Lady Mo developed a fondness for this Xiaoni whom she had never met before. Not long after, Mo Baichuan came down from upstairs. He actively greeted Old Lady Mo. Good morning, Grandma. Chuan Chuan, come here, join your grandma for breakfast. Old Lady Mo waved at him. Mo Baichuan did as she said and walked over. Old Lady Mo handed the remaining bread to Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan refused lightly. I don't have an appetite in the morning, Grandma. I'm just going to watch you eat. No appetite? Old Lady Mo laughed. Chuan Chuan, I guarantee after you eat something Xiaoni made, you will immediately get your appetite back. Xiaoni? An Yang? This was made by An Yang? Mo Baichuan subtly squinted his eyes. An Yang, you really have overreached yourself. Despite being indifferent to him, she managed to make his family so happy behind the scenes. Wasn't this a classic case of playing hard to get? Old Lady Mo continued. Chuan Chuan, why don't you take a bite? I was just like you before, didn't have much of an appetite. But ever since I started eating food prepared by Xiaoni, it got much better. Who wants to eat something made by a woman with ulterior motives? Mo Baichuan hid all his displeasure at the bottom of his eyes, then said, Grandma, I really can't eat. Oh right, I have something else to do. I have to go now. Before Old Lady Mo could react, Mo Baichuan's figure had already disappeared outside the door. This damned kid. Old Lady Mo sighed helplessly. The Zhao family had 2 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter, Zhao Jingrong, had been spoiled from a young age. Zhao Jingrong was 3 years younger than Mo Qishan, 24 this year. 24-year-old Zhao Jingrong had an excellent reputation in Beijing's circles of wealth. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also a talented student who studied abroad in France. If it wasn't for her engagement with Mo Qishan, her doorstep would probably have been worn out by suitors. Early in the morning, everyone in the Zhao family was gathered in the living room, the atmosphere a bit heavy. Zhao Baoxing looked up at his beloved daughter. Jingrong, I heard that the youngest Mo lad has returned. What's your opinion on this matter? Zhao Jingrong carelessly replied while blowing on her freshly painted nails. He's back. What does it have to do with me? Zhao Baoxing continued. Jingrong, have you forgotten you are still engaged to him? Zhao Jingrong chuckled lightly. Engagement? Whoever agreed to this engagement can go ahead and marry. How dare that useless Mo Qishan dream of marrying her, a swan, just because he's a toad? In his dreams, Zhao Baoxing was left speechless by his precious daughter. This engagement, after all, had been arranged by them, the parents. The Mrs. Zhao on the side leisurely interjected. The engagement back then was just verbal. It doesn't really count for anything, right? Chapter 104 Mr. Mog, his new attracting move? _3. Zhao Baosheng lamented. But we have accepted the token from the Mo family. In the beginning, Mo Qixin was arguably an once-in-millennium genius. At the age of 3, Mo Qixin could recite all Tang and Song dynasty poetry. At 4, he could mentally calculate any addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division problem. At 5, he could discuss 5,000 years of Chinese history, even in more detail than historical records. At 6, he started first grade, and at 7 he skipped to third grade. The Zhao family would not have arranged a marriage with the Mo family so early on if it weren't for this. The Zhao family was certain that Mo Qixin's future was beyond measure. Who could have expected that they had overestimated him, making the wrong gamble? They all had high hopes for Mo Qixin, but to their surprise, Mo Qixin lost his genius, becoming gradually a mere ordinary person. He even became less than an ordinary person. At the very least, an ordinary person knows to work and earn a living to support the family, whereas Mo Qixin was capable of nothing but idleness. Madame Zhao was dismissive. So what if we accepted a token? We can just return it. This isn't a big deal. Zhao Baosheng sighed. But one should not be so fickle in life. Besides, we have decades of friendship with the Mo family. How can we maintain this relationship if we break off the engagement? Madame Zhao cried out. Not break off the engagement? So are you suggesting that our Jingrong be married to that good-for-nothing? Is friendship more important than our precious daughter? Mom is right. I'd be the first to object if we marry our sister to Mo Qixin. Zhao Zijuan, the oldest son of the Zhao family, clearly expressed his opinion. Zhao Zi, the second son, echoed. I also object to marrying our sister to Mo Qixin. That good-for-nothing Mo Qixin is absolutely unworthy of their precious sister. Their sister deserved the world's best man. Jingrong. Zhao Baosheng looked up at Zhao Jingrong. What do you think? This decision ultimately depends on his precious daughter. Zhao Jingrong smiled and said, Dad, you're really muddle-headed. With that incompetent Mo Qixin, how could he possibly deserve me? I, Zhao Jingrong, would rather never marry than marry someone like Mo Qixin. I would rather marry a man like Mr. Mog. Mr. Mog is a legendary figure in high society. Everything about him is a mystery. His age, identity, even nationality. Even Zhao Jingrong had only seen Mr. Mog's silhouette in the international news section. People in their circle could not help but feel admiration when they mentioned Mr. Mog. Zhao Baosheng continued. But you've never even seen Mr. Mog's face. How do you know he's your type? Zhao Jingrong answered with a light smile. Dad, do you think I'm the type of person who is superficial enough to judge someone only by their appearance? Appearance? Could a good appearance bring you gold or silver? Zhao Jingrong knew exactly what she wanted. She desired not just an exceptional lifestyle, but also ultimate glory. Could that incompetent Mo Qixin provide her with such glory? Madame Zhao nodded. Jingrong, your mom supports you. You're so outstanding. You could not only win over one Mr. Mog, but even 10 of them. Jingrong's 2 brothers agreed, their confidence in their sister completely unwavering. Zhao Baosheng said, What if Mr. Mog turns out to be a much older man? After all, the glory Mr. Mog had acquired was not something a young man could easily handle. This man might even be older than him. Zhao Jingrong gave a faint smile. That would still be better than that good-for-nothing Mo Qixin. Zhao Baosheng sighed. All right, Jingrong, Dad understands your point. I will find a time to discuss this matter with the Mo family. Zhao Jingrong gently put her nail polish on the coffee table. Dad, you don't have to find a time, we should cut the knot quickly. Let's do it tomorrow, I will go with you. Also, Zhao Jingrong added, Dad, breaking off the engagement is not a matter of negotiation, it is a necessity. Zhao Jingrong felt disgustingly nauseous just thinking about still being engaged to that good-for-nothing Mo Qixin. Her skin breaking out in goosebumps. Little sister, we will accompany you. Zhao Jingrong's 2 older brothers said. Madame Zhao added, I'll go with you too. Just in case the Mo family refuses to break off the engagement, we have strength in numbers. When the old lady from the Mo family found out that the Zhao family was coming the next day, she was so thrilled she could hardly close her mouth. She immediately ordered the servants to clean the entire house, inside and out, to show respect to the Zhao family. Chapter 105 Mr. Mog, his new attracting move? Underscore 4. Both sides' children had grown up now, and the Zhao family's visit at this time undoubtedly meant that they were prepared to discuss the wedding date of Mo Qixin and Zhao Jingrong. The thought of being able to hold her plump grandson in the not-so-distant future made the old Mrs. Mo sprightly, and she quickly went upstairs to share this good news with Mo Qixin. Upon hearing the news, Mo Qixin forced a smile. "All right, Mom, I got it." Old Mrs. Mo continued. "Old 6, remember to be on your best behavior in front of Jingrong tomorrow." Mo Qixin nodded. "You can count on me, Mother. I won't let you down." Old Mrs. Mo added. "And remember to tidy yourself up tomorrow. Don't be so frivolous." Mo Qixin nodded again, a trace of sarcasm hidden in the depths of his eyes. On Yurtist Road, around 11 in the morning, Ni Yang had sold out her 600 servings of noodles and 500 cups of sour plum soup. She made a total of 220 yuan today, taking her a step closer to her goal of buying a shop. Ni Yang smiled as she began packing up her stall. As she lowered her gaze to tidy up the bowls and utensils, a dark shadow suddenly loomed over her. At the same time, an oppressive aura filled the air around her, making it hard to breathe, and creating a somewhat claustrophobic atmosphere. Ni Yang instinctively looked up, her gaze meeting a pair of deep, icy black eyes. Their eyes locked, and the fluctuating emotions within his gaze were as deep and cold as an abyss, piercingly insightful as if they were going to see right through her. It was him, Mo Baichuan, that narcissistic piece of trash. Ni Yang had no good impression of such arrogant and conceited people. However, she had shoved him into a puddle of water the last time they met. He couldn't be seeking revenge this time, could he? At this thought, Ni Yang's eyes darkened. "Cook me a bowl of noodles." After a moment, Mo Baichuan spoke, and then sat down on a stool. Ni Yang shook off her surprise and replied softly, "I'm sorry, sir, I've already packed up." Mo Baichuan had been struggling to control himself ever since he saw Ni Yang preparing food for old Mrs. Mo at the Mo family residence. Why was he struggling to control himself? Because he was suddenly desperate to see beyond Ni Yang's beautiful exterior. Ni Yang had been doing so many things from the start until now, with the sole purpose of getting close to him, right? Fine then. He would give her an opportunity. He was curious to see what other schemes Ni Yang had up her sleeve. Mo Baichuan squinted imperceptibly. Seeing that he remained silent, Ni Yang spoke up again. "Excuse me, sir, I've already packed up. If you want to eat noodles, you can come by tomorrow." "I told you my surname is Mo." Mo Baichuan suddenly looked at Ni Yang. "Mo like in May the right prevail." "Oh." Ni Yang's face didn't betray any emotions as she replied. "Mr. Mo, I've packed up already. Please go back." Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan frowned in displeasure. If he remembered correctly, this was the third time in just a few minutes that Ni Yang had rejected him. Usually he was the one avoiding women, yet to his surprise he was being shunned by a woman today? Always running hot and cold? Was this some kind of a joke? "I said cook me a bowl of noodles." Mo Baichuan was determined. "But I have packed up already." Ni Yang repeated calmly, showing no fear whatsoever towards Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan raised his head to look at Ni Yang coldly saying, "Ni Yang, do you find this amusing?" Hearing this, Ni Yang suddenly remembered something. "Did you lose a watch about a month ago?" Ni Yang wasn't the type of person to take advantage of others' misfortune. The unpleasantness of their previous encounters had made her forget about the watch. Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan's eyes filled with contempt. Was Ni Yang trying to curry favor with him? Hadn't she just resolutely refused him? Couldn't she hide her true intentions for a tad longer? Moreover, hadn't she stolen his watch? And now she was saying that he had lost it? How shameless could she be? Mo Baichuan nodded slightly. "Yes, I lost a watch." "What brand was your watch?" Ni Yang asked. That watch was quite valuable, so it was necessary to confirm the details. "Patek Philippe." Mo Baichuan calmly pronounced, not seeming at all perturbed about the valuable watch. Ni Yang nodded slightly then said, "I don't have your watch on me today. Can you come back to pick it up tomorrow? I set up my stall here every day." Chapter 106 Mr. Mog, his new attracting move? _5. Get it tomorrow? Is she creating an excuse for meeting again? Yes. It must be the case. So this is all the cunning that In-Yang has? Mo Baichuan thought to himself. Mo Baichuan continued. Why wait for another day when it can be done today? My watch. It's very valuable. Very valuable? As if suggesting that she has some kind of ulterior motive. In-Yang frowned slightly and lightly said. But I don't have it with me today. I'll definitely bring it tomorrow. You can come and get it tomorrow. She couldn't always carry such a valuable item with her. What if she loses it? Where did you put it? Mo Baichuan slowly lifted his gaze. It's at home. Nayang replied. Let's go. Mo Baichuan stood up from the bench. Go. Go where? Nayang frowned. Where to? To your home. Mo Baichuan said with an indifferent tone, and then added 3 more words. To get the watch. Go to her home. Nayang frowned slightly. The social climate wasn't that open yet. What would it mean if she brought back a man to her house for no reason? Seeing her reaction, Mo Baichuan continued. You don't want to return it to me? Are you serious about going? Nayang raised an eyebrow slightly. Mo Baichuan maintained a calm expression. Of course I am. Okay. Nayang nodded. Since you insist on going, then wait for me. I need to clean up here before I can go home. Mo Baichuan nodded slightly, concise in words. With Mr. Mo Baichuan standing there, the air around him seemed inexplicably colder. Consequently, the number of passers-by turning their heads back increased. Nayang distinctly remembered that the Missy in bell-bottoms and sunglasses had passed by here more than 5 times. After tidying up, Nayang began moving the tables and chairs into Li Dongliang's shop. The shop wasn't far from here. From Mo Baichuan's perspective, he could clearly see the young man in white standing at the door, laughing and talking with In-Yang. It seemed like he even handed something to In-Yang. Most importantly, In-Yang actually accepted it. Seeing this, Mo Baichuan's face darkened involuntarily. A girl from a good family, chatting so happily with a man under the bright daylight. And wasn't In-Yang playing hard to get with him just now? Why did she turn around and flirt with someone else so quickly? Seeing this, Mo Baichuan became even more restless and strode towards In-Yang. Mo Baichuan had a tall and straight figure, and came from a distinguished background, so he emanated an imposing aura that was hard to ignore. This strong aura quietened Li Wei, who was in the midst of a conversation. He instantly stopped talking, looked behind In-Yang, and whispered, Who is he? Last time it was Song Beicheng, now it's Mo Baichuan. Li Wei felt. The men appearing next to In-Yang were not simple characters. Who? In-Yang turned around with a curious look. As she turned around, she saw Mo Baichuan with an imposing look. A customer who came for noodles. In-Yang turned her gaze slightly and said casually, A customer who came for noodles? Mo Baichuan's expression remained the same, but his dark eyes slightly lifted, deep and inscrutable. He disliked the term customer somewhat. He turned his eyes to In-Yang and asked in a slightly cold tone, When should we go? We? Catching on to the word, Li Wei looked at In-Yang with a scrutinizing gaze. It seemed that In-Yang had a more than normal relationship with this man. If not, he wouldn't use the word we. For a moment, Li Wei felt a hint of unspoken bitterness in his heart. In-Yang, with her head bowed, said, Wait a little longer. However, In-Yang didn't intend to bring Mo Baichuan back home. After packing up everything, she said, Wait here, I will quickly return the wristwatch. Having said that, she hopped onto her bicycle and quickly rode away. Mo Baichuan was left standing there, a little slow to react. Why did In-Yang just leave? Wasn't she supposed to use this chance to bring him to her home and get him acquainted? What was In-Yang trying to do? Was she trying to entice him with a new strategy? Mo Baichuan narrowed his eyes. A new strategy, eh? He wouldn't let her succeed. In-Yang had good physical stamina, so her bicycling speed was extremely fast. Less than an hour had passed when she returned. However, when she arrived, Mo Baichuan was nowhere to be found. She is crazy. In-Yang couldn't resist muttering under her breath. Even though they both were part of the Mo family, his actions were far from those of Mo Qishan. In-Yang was so angry she felt like kicking Mo Baichuan to death. What a piece of junk. And Ah Young took a deep breath, trying hard to calm herself down, tucked the wristwatch back in her pocket, and headed for the nearest Xinhua bookstore to pick out some books. And Ah Young selected beginner-level books, annotated storybooks with pinyin, and a few books with models for calligraphy. These books would be of great help to Anai Tsuehua, who was just learning to read. The total cost of 5 books amounted to 6 yuan. Although quite expensive, Naiyang didn't regret it as knowledge is priceless. After Inai Yang returned home, she gave these books to Inai Tsuehua. Inai Tsuehua said affectionately, Yang, these must have cost a lot, right? Knowing Inai Tsuehua would be worried about the money, Inai Yang laughed and said, It's not much, just a few cents. Really? Inai Tsuehua asked, suspicious. Of course it's true. Naiyang nodded hurriedly. You think about it, our delicious noodles only cost 3 cents per bowl. How much can a few books be worth? Hearing this, Inai Tsuehua was relieved. She was always afraid that Inai Yang would waste money on her. After all, Inai Yang's money was meant to be used to buy shops and make a big deal. Sister Inai Yang. At that moment, the voice of Yang Guobao rang out from outside the courtyard. Guobao, come in, Naiyang called back. Yang Guobao walked in carefully with a basket in his hands. Sister Inai Yang, my grandma and mother asked me to give this to you. Inai Yang looked down and saw the basket was full of brown eggs. Each egg looked almost the same size, piled together. They looked exceptionally pleasing. Because meat was expensive, eggs were considered quite valuable at this time, with each one costing 1 cent. And to have such a full basket of eggs probably took a long time to accumulate. Inai Yang said, I can't accept this, you should take it back. No, Yang Guobao replied. My mom and grandma said you had to accept these eggs today, otherwise they wouldn't let me go home. Inai Yang gave a gentle pat on Yang Guobao's head. Guobao, be obedient, I appreciate the intention, but I really can't accept this, take it back. Anyway, I've already brought the eggs here. Sister, you have to take them. Having said that, Yang Guobao quickly ran away. Inai Tsuehua smiled and said, Guobao's behavior has been improving a lot lately. Yang, since this is a sincere offering from Mei Feng and Aunt Wang, let's accept it. Didn't you bake some fruit and bread yesterday? When returning the basket later, bring some as a return gift. Inai Yang nodded. Alright, I'll go and empty the basket now. Inai Yang went inside, emptied the basket, lined it with a piece of paper, and placed in 4 pieces of bread, dried apples, and bananas. Remembering that Aunt Wang had 2 grandsons and a granddaughter, Inai Yang added a good handful of candies and finally covered the basket with a piece of cloth with blue floral patterns. People were coming and going in the village. It wouldn't be good to not give anything if they encountered an acquaintance. But if they gave something and there were many people, there might not be enough, which could offend someone, so just covering the stuff was the safest solution. Chapter 107, Termination of Engagement. When Inai Yang arrived at Aunt Wang's house, Yang Guobao was playing in the mud by the door with his cousins, Wang Yuanji and Wang Xiaoqin. Aunt Wang was chatting with Wang Meifeng at the entrance. Seeing Inai Yang coming, Wang Meifeng and Aunt Wang immediately greeted her with a smile. Yang is here. Auntie Wang, I've come to return the basket. Aunt Wang smiled and said, just for returning a basket, you didn't have to bring it yourself. She then told Wang Meifeng, Meifeng, quickly make some tea for Yang. Aunt Wang's family now treat Inai Yang as if she were an honored guest. Yang Guobao used to get sick several times a week before, but now almost a month had gone by without incident. If he could keep up the medication for another month, Yang Guobao would be completely cured. All this was thanks to Inai Yang. Without her, Yang Guobao would not be the way he is now. Wang Meifeng had more than once expressed her gratitude for not giving in to pressure back then, and not listening to the imperial doctor, Dr. Wang's words. If she had shown even a little hesitation then, she would have perfectly missed the chance of Yang Guobao's recovery. Luckily, Wang Meifeng turned and went inside to make tea for Inai Yang. Inai Yang smiled and said, Auntie Wang, you don't need to bother, I'm not thirsty. I just came to return the basket. It's okay if you're not thirsty, let's go inside and chat. Aunt Wang led Inai Yang into the house. Inai Yang couldn't refuse Aunt Wang's kindness and had no choice but to carry the basket and go with her into the house. Yang Yang, sit, I'll get you something good. Aunt Wang pressed Anai Yang down into a chair, and then went into the inner room. At this point, Wang Meifeng also finished brewing the tea. Yang Yang, have some tea. Anai Yang stood up immediately and accepted the teacup with both hands. Thank you, Auntie Wang. Wang Meifeng giggled. Why are you being so formal? Sit down, sit down. After a while, Aunt Wang came out of the room with 3 honey tangerines and stuffed them into Anai Yang's hands. Yang Yang, these are honey tangerines your uncle brought back from the city a few days ago. Try them and see if they're sweet. The season for honey tangerines was not yet here. Off-season fruits were particularly expensive. Anai Yang had asked specifically when she was buying fruits before, and even a small honey tangerine sold for 50 cents apiece. 3 honey tangerines can be traded for almost half a kilo of pork. If it was anyone else, Aunt Wang would not have been able to bring out 3 at once. After all, when her own grandchildren ate them, they divided them up one segment at a time. But this was Anai Yang. As long as Anai Yang liked it, Aunt Wang would not be stingy, not even for 10. Seeing Aunt Wang's hopeful look, Anai Yang peeled a tangerine and sampled a segment. It's very sweet. Thank you, Auntie. Hearing this, Aunt Wang broke into a happy smile. Stop being so formal with me. If you like them, I can get you more. Anai Yang immediately stopped Aunt Wang's hand. Auntie, no need to. I just wanted to try one. If you carry on like this, I won't dare to visit next time. Only then did Aunt Wang stop. After some casual chatting for a while, Anai Yang began to say goodbye. Aunt Wang and Wang Meifeng walked Anai Yang to the door. Anai Yang smiled and said, Auntie Wang, no need to see me out. You should go back inside. Sister Anai Yang, I'll walk you home. Yang Guobao hopped to Anai Yang's side. Sister Anai Yang, I'm your flower guardian. Anai Yang patted Yang Guobao's little head. Thank you then, little envoy Guobao. Yang Guobao bashfully ran ahead. Sister Anai Yang, I'll lead the way. Aunt Wang and Wang Meifeng didn't go back until Anai Yang and Yang Guobao disappeared in front of the bamboo forest. Just then, the excited voices of Wang Yuanji and Wang Xiaoqin could be heard from inside the house. Grandma, Auntie, are these the delicious treats that Sister Anai Yang just brought? The mother and daughter only found out when they went inside that the basket Anai Yang had just brought wasn't empty. It was filled to the brim with delicious treats. Seeing all the good food, the 2 children jumped for joy. Aunt Wang picked up a piece of dried fruit, curiously asking, What's this? Wang Meifeng shook her head. Wang Xiaoqin said, It's dried fruit, baked by Sister Anai Yang in the bread oven. Grandma, you have to taste it, it's really good. Wang Yuanji added, Yes, it's dried fruit. Aunt Wang asked out of curiosity, Yuanji Xiaoqin, how do you know this is dried fruit? Chapter 108, Termination of Engagement. Wang Yuanji said, Because we have eaten at Sister Anai Yang's house plenty of times. Last time, Sister Anai Yang even hosted a party for us. Anai Yang was not only beautiful but also friendly. After hosting the last party, she held several more at her home. As a result, all the children in the village loved her. Old Lady Wang tasted the dried fruit. They were crispy, and not only did they have the sweetness of fruit, but also the texture of a dessert. The taste was incredible. Old Lady Wang exclaimed, Yang Yang is such a sensible little girl. Meifeng, after Guobao is fully recovered, you must bring your mother-in-law, as well as Changzheng, to come and properly thank Yang Yang. Compared to other girls Anai Yang's age who knew little about the world, like Wang Xiuhong who relied on her beauty to the point of arrogance, Anai Yang not only understood worldly wisdom and knew how to do business, but also had excellent medical skills. Most importantly, she didn't let it get to her head. She remained grounded, humble and polite, without any hint that she thought herself better than others. Wang Meifeng nodded. Mom, rest assured, one understand. Old Lady Wang smiled and said, As long as you understand, that's good. Anai family. Anai Tsuehua was busy in the kitchen slicing fish and stewing fishbone soup. She was efficient and quickly finished all her tasks. Afterwards, she moved a small stool next to Anai Yun's cradle, watching the child while reading. Anai Tsuehua was a smart woman who had learned to read from phonetics. The feeling of being able to recognize words was something she had never experienced before. And I Yang, on the other hand, was watering the vegetables in the garden. 2 months had passed, and under Nai Hua's diligent efforts, the once barren vegetable garden had turned lush green. It was now growing bok choy, long beans, loofah, soybeans, potatoes, cilantro, scallions, etc., and they were growing very well. The herbs and aloe vera Nai Yang had brought back from the mountain had grown particularly well, especially the aloe vera that had started to branch out. Those fat and large leaves made Nai Yang want to chew on them right on the spot. After watering, Yang picked a handful of baby greens to feed the rabbits. Because these little rabbits were too mischievous, Suehua had built a fence to keep them contained, preventing them from running around and scattering droppings everywhere. Nai Yang tossed the baby greens into the fence, and the little rabbits immediately started crunching on them. After finishing up at home, Yang took a bucket to the river to check the traps. As soon as she arrived at the river, she met a tall, slender figure with handsome features hidden in the light. Yang. Seeing who it was, Nai Yang was momentarily stunned, then said, "Big brother Mo. Yang, you've come to check the traps again today?" Mo Qishan naturally took the bucket from Nai Yang's hands, then continued, "It rained last night, and the river has risen. It's not suitable for you to go down, let me do it." Yang turned to look at the river. Indeed, the river had significantly risen, at least 50 to 60 centimeters above where she normally placed her traps. As it was summer and Nai Yang was a girl, getting her top wet would not only look improper but could also cause a stir in the village. It must be said that Mo Qishan's arrival was indeed very timely, and his considerations were very thoughtful. Nai Yang looked up at Mo Qishan. "Then he'll have to trouble you, big brother Mo." Mo Qishan smiled and said, "There is no trouble at all, helping others is a virtue." "Then be careful, big brother Mo," Nai Yang shouted. Hearing her call him big brother Mo was sweeter to Mo Qishan than any honey. How could a little girl's words be so pleasant to hear? He was truly lucky to have met such a treasure of a girl. "Don't worry," Mo Qishan patted his chest. "Your big brother Mo is a good swimmer." Having said that, Mo Qishan walked towards the river with the bucket. Because he had helped Nai Yang retrieve her traps once before, Mo Qishan was able to find the exact location accurately today. Mo Qishan was tall and had long legs, so the water only reached a bit above his waist, but for Nai Yang, it would probably reach her chest. Soon, Mo Qishan retrieved the traps and walked back with a bucket full of fish. Today's haul was pretty good. Not only were there Christian carp, but also 3 big grass carps. Chapter 109 Termination of Engagement. Nai Yang reached out for the bucket. "Thanks, brother Mo. No need for formalities." Mo Qishan didn't hand the bucket directly to Nai Yang, but said, "This bucket of fish is quite heavy, let me take it home for you." The fragmented remains of fish, along with shells and other things, weighed at least 15 to 20 kilograms. With him around, how could she, a young girl, be asked to do such heavy labor? Nai Yang smiled and said, "No need, I can handle it." "It's all right." Mo Qishan stepped ahead saying, "I consider it physical exercise." Mo Qishan, tall and striding, soon left Nai Yang behind. Having no choice, Nai Yang quickened her pace to catch up. As she walked with Mo Qishan, they chatted idly. "Brother Mo, is your injury healing?" She was most likely referring to the bite mark she had left on his collarbone last time. Mo Qishan's face inexplicably turned red. "It's fine now." "Have you been to the hospital?" Nai Yang asked further. Mo Qishan replied, "Yes, I have. The doctor said it's nothing serious." Upon hearing this, Nai Yang was relieved. "That's good." Nai Yang initially thought Mo Qishan would accompany her all the way home. Unexpectedly, just before they turned the corner to her house, Mo Qishan stopped, placed the bucket on the ground, and said, Yang, I won't go inside. I'm heading off first." After all, during this time, social conduct between men and women was strictly monitored. He and Nai Yang were not real cousins, and he did not want to cause unnecessary trouble for her. Now it was daytime, unlike during that past night. Nai Yang was surprised at his sensitivity, smiling. "Wait for me here for a moment." Not only was Nai Yang pretty, but her teeth were also especially white when she smiled. Like rows of neatly arranged tiny pearls, they were brilliant and eye-catching. Emo Chishan was mesmerized looking at her. In a short while, Enai Yang returned with a run. But this time, Enai Yang held a bag made of oily paper. She stuffed the oily paper bag into Emo Chishan's hands. This has some dried fruit that I made. You can try them, brother Emo. Last time it was bread, now it was dried fruit. Was this young girl subconsciously considering him as a servant to serve him snacks? Thank you. Emo Chishan continued. You should go home, Yang Yang. You don't want anyone to see us and get the wrong idea. Enai Yang nodded and turned towards her home. Emo Chishan also started walking toward the river, whistling along the way. Upon returning home, Enai Yang began preparations for dinner. What to cook for tonight's meal? Enai Yang pondered, chin in hand, and her eyes landed on the 2 cucumbers and a bunch of cilantro in her basket. Suddenly she had an idea. She could make cold skin noodles for dinner. Not wasting any time, Enai Yang began kneading and washing the flour. Making cold skin noodles was neither too simple nor too complex. The main difficulty lay in washing the flour, where she had to wash a whole dough ball in water until it turned into a small ball of gluten. The washed dough water, after settling, could be used for steaming. Cold skin noodles originated from the northwest and were quite rare in Beijing at that time. Seeing Enai Yang washing dough, Enai Tsuehua curiously asked, Yang Yang, what are you making? Enai Yang explained, I'm washing dough to make cold skin noodles. Cold skin noodles? Enai Tsuehua continued, can we eat them? Yes. Enai Yang nodded. Enai Tsuehua then asked, Yang Yang, can one help with something? Enai Yang replied, how about you slice the cucumbers and cut the cilantro and spring onions into segments, then crush some garlic. All right. Enai Tsuehua straightaway started washing the vegetables efficiently. The mother-daughter duo cooperated superbly, and as soon as Enai Yang finished washing the dough, Enai Tsuehua had already chopped all the ingredients. So Enai Tsuehua started the fire under the stove, while Enai Yang took her place by the pot to steam the noodles. Cold skin noodles were very filling and were great for the spleen and appetite when eaten in the summer, so Enai Yang prepared a few extra plates for Granny Mo's breakfast the next day. Before long, the cold skin noodles were ready. Enai Yang sliced the cold skin noodles and put them in a large bowl, added spring onions, cilantro, minced garlic, cucumber strips, and finally poured sesame oil, vinegar, and chili on top. The enticing aroma wafted even before she started mixing everything. Worried that the cold skin noodles alone wouldn't fill their stomachs, Enai Yang also boiled 6 tea eggs with the eggs Yang Guobao had brought. Except for the tea leaves, Enai Yang mixed all the marinades herself. In no time, the delicious aroma filled the entire courtyard. Chapter 110 Termination of Engagement Carrot. After boiling the tea eggs, Enai Yang halved them and arranged them on a porcelain white plate. They were garnished with a few slices of tomatoes, providing a pleasing feast for the eyes which was delightfully ceremonial. Additionally, Enai Yang stir-fried 2 small dishes beneficial for beauty and nourishment. Enai Tsuehua served all the dishes onto the table, waiting for Enai Chingue to return and start the meal. The cold noodles were pleasant with a sour taste and a smooth texture. Their appealing flavor lingered in their mouths, leaving Enai Chingue and Enai Tsuehua full of praise. The 3 of them cleaned out all the dishes, leaving only 2 eggs behind. Seeing the popularity of her cold noodles, Enai Yang had a new idea in mind. However, this idea could only be implemented after buying a shop. After finishing the meal, Enai Yang went into the kitchen to make sour plum soup. As the weather was hot, this soup was extremely popular. It often sold out before the pickled vegetable noodles each morning. Hence Enai Yang decided to brew more sour plum soup to take along. She prepared 500 servings yesterday, so she planned to prepare 1,000 servings today. With a price of 1 cent per cup, 1,000 cups of sour plum soup would total 2 yuan. In this way, she would be another step closer to her plan of buying a shop. With this in mind, Enai Yang was filled with a renewed vigor. She reckoned she could endure being a bit tired, as good days are always made out of tough ones. The next day, Emo family's house. Because the Zhao family had promised to visit today, old lady Emo woke up early. However, instead of the Zhao family, she was first greeted by Li Gongqing. Li Gongqing had come to bring her breakfast. Old lady Emo eagerly opened the thermos, and sure enough, Anai Yang's breakfast meal did not disappoint her. Sour and appetizing cold noodles. Rich and fragrant stir-fried shrimp with leeks. Cool and refreshing soup of loofah and lotus seeds. The food delighted old Lady Mo's palate, but what she did not know was that all these dishes that Anai Yang prepared were health-promoting. For instance, stir-fried shrimp with leeks helps to expel cold, and is particularly good for the elderly, while a soup of loofah and lotus seeds has the effect of resisting osteoporosis. Are there any elderly people who do not have osteoporosis? While she was unaware of these health benefits, old Lady Mo could clearly feel that ever since she started eating the meals prepared by Anai Yang, her health improved day by day. It needs to be noted that she was in a condition where she would pant after taking 2 steps. There was no need to guess, this was definitely because the dishes by Boss Xiaoni tasted good. So, at present, old Lady Mo is completely satisfied with Boss Xiaoni. Xiaoli, wait a moment. Old Lady Mo called out to Li Gongqing, who was about to leave. Old lady, do you have any other instructions? Li Gongqing turned his head towards her. Old Lady Mo then asked, Xiaoli, how old is Boss Xiaoni this year? Are they a boy or girl? Are they married? Boss Xiaoni saved her life once, so she wanted to prepare a gift to thank Boss Xiaoni. Li Gongqing replied. Boss Xiaoni is a 17-year-old girl, and she's not married yet. 17 years old? Is she still a young girl? Old Lady Mo was extremely astonished. It never occurred to her that such delicious food came from a 17-year-old girl. She originally thought that even if Boss Xiaoni was young, she must be at least in her 30s. This was truly unexpected. Xiaoli, you aren't playing tricks on me, are you? Li Gongqing laughed and said. Why would I trick you? Boss Xiaoni is indeed so young. Actually, my initial reaction was the same as yours. Who would believe that a 17-year-old girl could be so skilled in cooking unless they witnessed it themselves? Old Lady Mo suppressed her amazement, nodded her head and made up her mind. Okay, I've got it. You may return to your work. All right, old lady. Li Gongqing bent his waist slightly and turned to leave. As old Lady Mo was getting ready to eat, Mo Fuhai, dressed smartly, came down from upstairs. Old man, come here. Old Lady Mo waved her hand at him. What's up? You seem secretive. Mo Fuhai walked over. Old Lady Mo laughed. It's rare that you're up early. Come, let's have breakfast together. Xiaoli just brought it over, it's still warm. Although Mo Fuhai initially had little appetite, after seeing the appealing appearance of the food and its mouth-watering aroma, he quietly withdrew his impending refusal. He picked up his bowl and chopsticks, and joined old Lady Mo in a hearty meal. As expected, the taste didn't disappoint him. Chapter 111 Termination of Engagement. Even Mo Fuhai, who had tasted countless delicacies, was deeply impressed. It's delicious. Mo Fuhai wiped his mouth, looking at the empty thermos box, and said a little bit adoringly, This was made by Boss Xiaoni? Mrs. Mo nodded. Indeed, they say Boss Xiaoni is only a 17-year-old girl. It's incredible. Only 17 years old? Mo Fuhai exclaimed. That's truly impressive. It wasn't until 10 o'clock in the morning, nearly 11, that the Zhao family finally arrived late. Little Six, quickly make some tea for your uncle and aunt. Mo Fuhai hinted at Mo Qishan with his eyes. Mo Qishan nodded. Okay. Zhao Jingrong may have an engagement with Mo Qishan, but because one was studying abroad and the other was loafing around, the two hadn't seen each other for over a decade. She never expected that such a loser could turn out to be so good-looking. From every angle, there was not a single unfavorable feature on Mo Qishan's face. He was way more handsome than any pretty boy on TV. He's quite handsome indeed. But it's a pity. Physical appearance was the most useless thing in the world. If a woman was beautiful, she might have an opportunity to climb to higher social status. But as for men, being handsome only makes one a pretty boy. At this moment, Mo Qishan handed the steep tea to Zhao Jingrong. Be careful, it's hot. Be careful, it's hot? Was Mo Qishan trying to please her? Well, she was beautiful and outstanding. It was impossible that any man wouldn't be charmed by her. You don't have to flatter me. Zhao Jingrong snorted coldly. Because I'm here to dissolve the engagement. At her words, the lively living room immediately fell silent. Zhao Baosheng, who was at the top of the family hierarchy, chuckled nervously. Jingrong, what kind of joke are you making? Mo Fuhai and Mrs. Mo quickly tried to smooth things over. It's okay, young people like to joke. I'm not joking, Uncle Mo, Auntie Mo, you should be very clear about my conditions. Zhao Jingrong stood up directly from the sofa and pointed at Mo Qishan and asked, what makes you think that this man is worthy of me? Since she had decided to dissolve the engagement, Zhao Jingrong wasn't planning to maintain relations with the Mo family in the future. Since the truth was eventually going to be revealed, there was no sense in beating around the bush. Once she married Mr. Mog, all of Beijing would have to give her due respect. What did the Mo family count for? As soon as her words were spoken, the faces of Mo Fuhai and Mrs. Mo turned extremely awful. Even if Mo Qishan was not competent, he was still their precious son. How could they tolerate someone insulting him like this? Moreover, the person doing this was the girl they had always liked for their daughter-in-law. They had never dreamed that the smart and cute little girl from those days would become what she was today. Mo Qishan smiled and said, Miss Zhao is right. I, Mo Qishan, am idle and incompetent. I am indeed not worthy of the talented and beautiful Miss Zhao. Zhao Jingrong narrowed her eyes. What was up with this good-for-nothing Mo Qishan? How could he still manage to smile? Shouldn't he be sobbing and begging her not to break off the engagement at this moment? Was he too shocked? So, Mo Qishan continued. It's not that Miss Zhao wants to dissolve the engagement with me, but I want to dissolve the engagement with Miss Zhao. Breaking an engagement and having an engagement broken off were two completely different things. Just like calling off a wedding differs from being dumped. If it were spread around that she was dumped by a loser, she wouldn't be able to save face. Hearing his words, Zhao Jingrong exploded. You want to break off our engagement? On what grounds can you break off our engagement? What right did a loser have to speak to her like that? Mo Qishan gave a faint smile. Are you saying that, Miss Zhao, you don't want to dissolve the engagement? It's not too late for you to change your mind. At least this loser had some brains. Zhao Jingrong finally understood that this loser was trying to goad her, with the aim of preserving the engagement. She knew, this loser wouldn't renounce the engagement easily. Of course not. Zhao Jingrong retorted. If that's the case, this is the dissolution agreement. Please keep it, Miss Zhao. Mo Qishan handed Zhao Jingrong an envelope. If I remember correctly, when our two families set this engagement, we also exchanged tokens? The thing from your house is in the envelope. Chapter 112 Termination of Engagement _6. A divorce letter. This good-for-nothing actually wrote a divorce letter. To Zhao Jingrong, this is an absolute humiliation. But on second thought, what if this is a strategy from the loser? Feigning weakness to bait the enemy? I can't fall for his trick. Ending the engagement is the only way forward. With no other option, Zhao Jingrong had no choice but to accept the divorce letter and swallow this humiliation. Dad, give the jade pendant back to them. Let's go. Zhao Baosheng never expected things would turn out this way. This is far from how they imagined the divorce would turn out. They thought the Mo family would try to salvage the situation. However, not only did they not say a word of regret, but Mo Qishan also threw out the divorce letter. Just like the descendants of a military family, showing their impressive integrity, Zhao Baosheng placed the jade pendant on the table. Facing his old friend of many years, he expressed his regret. I'm so sorry, Fuhai. After all, when the Zhao family fell on hard times, the Mo family helped them. Their actions today were completely ungrateful. After thinking, Zhao Baosheng continued, Fuhai, my old friend, one can't interfere with the children's matters. One hope you understand. Get out. Mo Fuhai's face turned livid with rage. Just a while ago, he was saying the Zhao family would never break their promise. But before he could turn around, reality has slapped him in the face. He had misread the Zhao family. Dad. Zhao Jingrong shouted. Why are you wasting words with them? Let's go. Mrs. Zhao swiftly pulled Zhao Baosheng away. Watching the departing Zhao family, Mo Qishan shouted, May Miss Zhao find a suitable husband soon. Safe journeys. The two Zhao brothers turned around. Rest assured, our little sister will surely marry the best man this world has to offer. She will never stoop to someone like you. Mo Qishan was not angered, but instead replied with a faint smile. I'm looking forward to seeing it. After the Zhao family left, the Mo family matriarch came to Mo Qishan's side with a heartbroken expression. My dear sixth child, you've suffered today. One never thought the Zhao family could be so horrible. Mo Qishan laughed and said, Mom, I'm not upset. It's a good thing to see their true faces early. Oh, my dear sixth child, a man can easily find a good wife. Don't be too upset. Mo Fuhai came over and patted Mo Qishan on the shoulder. I'm not upset. Mo Fuhai took several bank cards out of his pocket. Dear sixth, don't force yourself too much. If you want to cry, just cry. Even without a wife, you still have money. As long as you have money, what kind of woman cannot be found? Mo Qishan helplessly said. Mom and Dad, I'm really not upset and one don't want to cry. One also don't need these cards. I have money now, so you don't have to worry about me. He was really not upset, and he truly had money. Why wouldn't his parents believe him? Just keep it. Mo Fuhai patted Mo Qishan's shoulder. We are both men, I understand you. Mo Qishan thought to himself. No, you don't understand. Mo Fuhai continued. You're always saying that you have money. If I may ask, where does your money come from? I earned it, Mo Qishan replied. Mo Fuhai persisted. How did you earn it? Mo Qishan hesitated slightly. This is classified information. I can't tell you for now. Just know that your son is not lacking money now. Classified information? No lack of money? What big secret can a person who didn't even graduate from high school involve himself in? Looking at it this way, it seems this incident has really hit the kid hard. And now he's talking nonsense. Thinking of this, Mo Fuhai's eyes filled with worry again. Sixth, you can go wherever you want to go during this period. Don't worry, your mom and I won't push you nor blame you. But remember my words, never ever consider any drastic actions. Mo Qishan was almost amused by what Mo Fuhai said. Dad, where are your thoughts going? I truly am not the least bit heartbroken. Mo Fuhai thought to himself not to upset his son any further, so he nodded in agreement. All right. One believe you. You're not heartbroken or sad at all, but you have to accept this money. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. Faced with no other choice, Mo Qishan could only nod in acceptance. Only then did Mo Fuhai breathe a sigh of relief. The next day, news of Mo Qishan's divorce with Zhao Jingrong spread across the entire upper-class society in Beijing. Zheng family. Upon hearing this news, Zhang Xianjing was so excited that she didn't know what to do. Excellent. Mo Qishan finally severed the marital tie with Zhao Jingrong. That Zhao Jingrong really knows nothing about gems. Now that Mo Qishan has just ended his engagement with Zhao Jingrong, perhaps he's heartbroken. If she goes to comfort him now, perhaps she could take advantage of his vulnerability. With that thought, Zhang Xianjing immediately put on some beautiful makeup, put on a nice dress, and hurried towards the door. As soon as she ran into the living room, she bumped into Zheng Lingling, who was coming out of the kitchen. Zheng Lingling let out a scream. What's the rush? You spilt the chicken soup that I made for your grandma. Zhang Xianjing was startled. In her memory, Zheng Lingling had never lost her temper with her this much. Mom, what are you doing? You scared me. Isn't it just a bowl of chicken soup? If it's spilt, can't you just make another one? An unnatural look flashed across Zheng Lingling's eyes. Make another bowl? You make it sound so easy. Do you know how much effort it takes to cook a bowl of chicken soup? Zheng Xianjing dismissed it. It's just a bowl of chicken soup. How hard can it be? Besides, don't we have maids? Lingling looked at the soup and shattered pieces on the floor, her eyes full of heartache. Your grandma hasn't been feeling well lately. Do you know how much tonic I put in this chicken soup? And you just wasted it all. Zheng Xianjing dismissed it. Mom, when did you become so thrifty? It's just some tonic and a bowl of chicken soup. Is it really worth it? Zheng Lingling subtly changed the topic. Xianjing, where are you rushing off to? Zheng Xianjing remembered her mission, turning to run out of the door. Mom, I can't talk now, one have to go. At this moment, a maid came with a broom to clean up the chicken soup and broken pieces on the floor. Zheng Lingling said, Mrs. Wu, leave this to me, you go do your other tasks. Zheng Lingling always treated the maids kindly, so Mrs. Wu didn't think much of it and handed the broom to her. Once she turned around, Mrs. Wu began commending Zheng Lingling to the other maids. Though the madam isn't the madam's biological daughter, she is genuinely filial to her, not only personally making chicken soup for her, but also reprimanding the miss when she accidentally spilt the soup. Would she ever rebuke the miss under normal circumstances? Upon hearing this, the other maids all nodded in agreement. Zheng Lingling stood outside, listening, a venomous smile lurking at the corner of her mouth. The old hag. I'm so good to her. Yet all she knows is to stare blankly at that photo all day. If that's the case, you can't blame me. Chapter 113 Thrash Scum. Eat hot pot. When Zheng Xianjing arrived at the Mo family's house, the elderly couple was sitting in the living room sighing and looking downcast. Grandpa Mo, Grandma Mo. Xianjing is here. Seeing Zheng Xianjing, Mrs. Mo managed to squeeze a faint smile from the corner of her mouth. Grandma Mo, this is the chicken soup my mother asked me to bring to you. Please drink it while it's hot. Zheng Xianjing handed the thermal box in her hands to Mrs. Mo, thinking it would be improper to visit the Mo family empty-handed. Zheng Xianjing had packed a portion from the shop. Mrs. Mo exclaimed in surprise. Chicken soup? Did your mom make it herself? Yes, Zheng Xianjing nodded, her face not turning red and her heart not skipping a beat. My mom knew that you and Grandpa Mo must be feeling down, so she sent me to check on you. Mrs. Mo patted Zheng Xianjing's hand gratefully, sighing. Your mom is really thoughtful. Zheng Xianjing lifted the lid of the thermal box and scooped out 2 bowls of chicken soup. Grandpa Mo, Grandma Mo, please try my mother's cooking. Good, good. Mr. Mo Fuhai and Mrs. Mo received the chicken soup, praising Zheng Xianjing for her filial piety. Then, Zheng Xianjing comforted them. Grandpa Mo, Grandma Mo, don't feel sad or upset. Zhao Jingrong's calling off the marriage with Uncle Mo is her loss. I believe Uncle Mo will surely find a better girl, 1,000, even 1,000,000 times better than her. I believe one day, Zhao Jingrong will regret her actions from yesterday. Speaking these words, Zheng Xianjing's eyes filled with determination. It was obvious that Zhao Jingrong would regret her actions. However, there was no pill for regret in this world for her to take. Only Zheng Xianjing knew a secret that others didn't, so she was determined to hold on to Mo Qixin. The more Zhao Jingrong looked down on Mo Qixin, the more it highlighted her. Mrs. Mo looked at Zheng Xianjing in surprise. Xianjing, do you truly think so? She did not expect Zheng Xianjing, who was quite young, to be so sensible. While others looked down on Mo Qixin, Zheng Xianjing had such faith in him. Zheng Xianjing nodded, her eyes flickering upstairs, and answered solemnly. Of course. Grandma Mo, some people have deep potential that just hasn't been tapped yet. One believes that Uncle Mo's future will definitely be limitless. Let Zhao Jingrong regret her decisions in the future. Mrs. Mo was so touched she was almost brought to tears. Mr. Mo Fuhai was also successfully comforted by Zheng Xianjing. As Zheng Xianjing held Mrs. Mo's hand, she cooed. Grandma Mo, if that Zhao Jingrong regrets it and comes crying and begging to you, you and Grandpa Mo must not pay her any attention. Mrs. Mo was tickled by Zheng Xianjing and began laughing. Her previous depressive mood instantly lifted. Good, good, well, ignore her. Well, make her regret it till the end of time. Yes. Zheng Xianjing nodded. Just then, there were footsteps on the spiral staircase. Zheng Xianjing looked up to see a tall figure descending from upstairs. Fine brows, slightly upturned phoenix eyes, high nose bridge, thin lips. Every feature was just the way Zheng Xianjing liked. Although the men of the Mo family were all handsome and had a pair of standard phoenix eyes, Mo Qixin was undoubtedly the most outstanding among them. He must have heard what she just said, hadn't he? Yes. He must have heard it. Perhaps Mo Qixin had started to see her in a new light. Zheng Xianjing suppressed the excitement in her heart, stood up politely and greeted. Uncle Mo. Mo Qixin gave a light nod and casually put on his suit jacket. Mom, Dad, I have a bit of an urgent matter to attend to and may not be able to come back home for a while. Alt? Leaving again? Mrs. Mo stood up reluctantly. Mr. Mo Fuhai also stood up immediately. Mo Qixin nodded. Mrs. Mo continued. When will you be back this time? Mo Qixin checked his watch. I'm not sure about the exact time, but don't worry, I'll definitely be back before the end of the year. It was clear their son just had his marriage engagement broken, and now he was leaving again. Anyone could see what was happening, and the more Mrs. Mo thought about it, the more she felt sorry for him, tears trickling from her eyes. Mom, why are you crying? Mo Chishan comforted her by patting her back. It's just a short trip for me, not that I'm not coming back. Mr. Mo Fuhai tightened his face. All right, stop crying. It isn't a good look. Zheng Xianjing softly comforted. Grandma Mo, Uncle Mo is going to do something important. You don't need to worry. Chapter 114 Bullying Trash. Eating Hot Pot _2. Zheng Xianjing's words were clearly ingratiating. Mo Chishan glanced up at her. Catching Mo Kishan's gaze, Zheng Xianjing immediately lowered her head shyly. He noticed her. Mo Chishan finally noticed her. Zheng Xianjing's heart pounded like it had been bumped by a little deer. Do something big? What big thing could Mo Chishan do? Although she knew her son couldn't do anything significant, old lady Mo felt somewhat comforted. Holding Mo Kishan's hand, she said, My sixth son, promise your mother not to do anything foolish. Be good, understand? Mo Chishan nodded and wiped away his mother's tears. He smiled and said, I know, Mom. Don't worry, one will definitely take good care of myself. For some reason, the more old lady Mo saw Mo Chishan smiling, the more her heart ached. This child was too pitiful. He was still smiling when things were so dire. Go, don't worry about your mother. I will take care of the house. Mo Fuhai patted Mo Kishan's shoulder. Dad, 1 a.m. leaving then. Mo Chishan leaned over to hug Mo Fuhai, then turned to leave. Being hugged by his son, Mo Fuhai chuckled and scolded, This rascal. Zheng Xianjing, watching Mo Kishan's retreating figure, shouted, Safe travels, Uncle Mo. Mo Kishan's retreating figure was all that responded to Zheng Xianjing's words. But Zheng Xianjing didn't mind. As long as Mo Chishan noticed her, everything else would come slowly. A calculating smile curled at the corners of Zheng Xianjing's mouth. Ai Yen had been doing great business lately. Every day, the noodles and sour plum soup she prepared sold out before 11 a.m. In just 1 week, she had already cleared a profit of 1,900 yuan. When she looked at Sun Chuanxiang, not only did she make no profit, but she even lost the capital. Exactly because of Sun Changxiang's example, many people who wanted to imitate Ai Yen were hesitant to act. Although selling other stuff might not bring them as much business as Ai Yen, at least they could make some profit, which was better than losing money. Sun Chuanxiang was worrying earnestly. She had originally thought she could easily find the pickled vegetables Ai Yen used, but after combing through all the agricultural markets in Beijing, she couldn't find anything similar. This couldn't go on. His son was waiting for her to pay the school fees. Although Zhu Yonghong's incident had affected her son, the school had said that as long as she paid a penalty of 1,000 yuan and wrote a self-criticism letter, he could return to school. At a time like this, she mustn't hinder her son. The reason Ai Yen could make such delicious sour fish must be because she had some secret recipe. As long as she managed to get the secret recipe, she wouldn't have to worry about business. Thinking of this, Sun Chuanxiang formed a plan in her mind. That day, after Ai Yen sold all the noodles, she was preparing to pack up, but then saw Sun Chuanxiang walking over carrying a basket of apples. Xiaoni, your business has been good these days, hasn't it? Yes, it has been good. Ai Yen looked up at her. What do you need? Treating every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a smile depends on who's standing in front of you. For someone like Sun Chuanxiang, Ai Yen couldn't even bother to deal with her, let alone smile. Little jerk. Feeling proud, right? Seeing the 2 large empty buckets, Sun Chuanxiang felt bitter in her heart. But remembering the purpose of her visit, she smiled and said, Xiaoni, you know there was a misunderstanding between your nephew Hong Hong and you recently? So one have come especially to apologize to you. One failed to teach my daughter well. 1 a.m. Sorry, Xiaoni. One hope you won't hold it against me. After all, we all do business on the same street. It isn't good if we clam up, is it? Ai Yen kept silent and continued to pack up. Seeing her not responding, Sun Chuanxiang continued, Xiaoni, you will laugh if I tell you this, but actually, my family is really tough. After Hong Hong went inside jail, one have to take care of everything alone, without any help. Now Hong Hong's brother is about to start school, and I can't even pull together the tuition. Halfway through her speech, Sun Chuanxiang started wiping her tears, looking pitiful. If I weren't really desperate, I wouldn't follow you and learn to make pickled vegetable noodles. One really had no choice. Unfortunately, I am not skilled. The pickled vegetable noodles I make are not as tasty as yours. Chapter 115 Thrash Scum. Eat Hot Pot _3. Sun Chuanxiang helped An Yang to put the small stool on the table, and then said, Xiaoni, now the only person who can help Auntie is you. Auntie knows that you have a kind heart. You wouldn't let her suffer, right? An Yang smiled lightly. I'm incapable of helping you out, please leave. No, you can help me, Sun Chuanxiang said confidently. You definitely can. What do you need help with? An Yang raised an eyebrow. She was curious to see how shameless a person could be. Sun Chuanxiang continued, Xiaoni, do you think you could lend Auntie 3,000 yuan? No matter how clever An Yang was, she was still just a teenage girl. After all, old foxes are always cunning. A basket of apples for 3,000 yuan? Not a bad deal. 3,000 yuan. Only Sun Chuanxiang could have the audacity to ask. An Yang replied indifferently, I don't have money. You've got the wrong person. No money. Sun Chuanxiang got furious. How could you possibly be broke? An Yang sells at least 700 noodles every day at 3 cents each, amounting to 210 yuan. Adding the profit from the sour plum soup, she makes over 300 yuan a day. 3,000 yuan, she could earn it back in less than 10 days. Yet now she claims to be without money. Does An Yang think she's a fool and easy to cheat? An Yang chuckled. To be honest, even if I did have the money, why would I lend it to you? Sun Chuanxiang was taken aback and then said, Xiaoni, please help Auntie out. We all fall on hard times, don't we? You have so much money. A small loan wouldn't affect you. Besides, you're a girl. You'll get married someday. What do you need all this money for? Besides, it's not like I won't pay you back. There's no need for you to be so stingy. In her past life, An Yang had met countless people, but never had she met someone as shameless as Sun Chuanxiang. Not only did she try to steal her business and frame her, she now shamelessly asks for a favor. How laughable. No wonder Zhu Yonghong could do such horrible things. The problem was with the parents. An Yang burst into laughter at Sun Chuanxiang. True, I am indeed that stingy. What a sneaky little brat. She deserves to die. Sun Chuanxiang wished she could strangle An Yang right there and then. If it weren't for this sneaky brat, would their family have all these problems? Sun Chuanxiang suppressed her anger and continued. Xiaoni, it's fine if you don't lend me 3,000 yuan. Can you lend me 1,000 then? You know that Auntie can't make sour fish as well as you do or do as well in her business. We can barely make ends meet. Otherwise, Auntie wouldn't have to ask for a loan. In fact, Sun Chuanxiang didn't intend to ask An Yang for 3,000 yuan to begin with. 3,000 was merely a buffer, a starting point for negotiations. After all, 1,000 was 2/3 less than 3,000. There's no reason for An Yang to refuse to lend her it. Sun Chuanxiang was determined to get the 1,000 yuan today. An Yang had to lend her the money, whether she wanted to or not. An Yang raised an eyebrow and asked with a smile, Do you think you're more privileged than others? Huh. Sun Chuanxiang was taken aback. No. Then why should I lend you money? She finished speaking and turned to leave. Sun Chuanxiang grabbed the corner of An Yang's clothes, forcing herself to shed some tears and pleading pitifully. Xiaoni, you can't just leave me to suffer. Take pity on Auntie, lend me some money, otherwise how can Auntie survive? An Yang smiled slightly and looked down at Sun Chuanxiang. Funny enough, I do like to watch others suffer. Xiaoni, Sun Chuanxiang laughed dryly, stop joking around. Auntie knows you're not that type of person. But I am that type of person. An Yang continued. Also, my mother doesn't have a sister, so stop claiming family relationships here. Sun Chuanxiang was nearly choked with anger, unable to keep her smile. Xiaoni, are you really going to fight with Auntie? An Yang replied. I already said, my mother doesn't have a sister. Sun Chuanxiang dropped her pretense, revealing her true colors, and lowered her voice to say, "You're just a teenager. While I'm almost 50, I've lived long enough. If you really anger me, there's nothing I won't dare to do. You're an outsider in Beijing, with no relatives around. If anything happens to you, there's no one to help you out. Is this a threat?" Chapter 116 Thrash Scum. Eat Hot Pot _4. I sorry, but she really wasn't scared. She and Yang wasn't one to be easily frightened. And Yang casually picked up a bench nearby, looking like she was ready for a fight. Well, it's just too bad. I'm all alone in the world too. Worst comes to worst, we can risk our lives together. A seemingly nonchalant remark had scared Sun Chuanxiang quite a bit. And Yang was all alone, whereas she had a family to feed, including both sons and daughters. Originally, she just wanted to intimidate Yang, but surprisingly, this little bitch wasn't persuaded by any means. Being so unafraid, nobody could even bully her a bit. Sun Chuanxiang was both furious and scared, frightened that Yang might actually resort to violence. After all, she was the one who came to pick a fight this time, so if Yang really fought back, she wouldn't be in the right ground. You're leaving me for dead, you'll regret this. Terrified, Sun Chuanxiang backed away several steps, trying to put on a brave front. What goes around comes around. I will wait for the day when you kneel and beg for my mercy. After saying those words, she ran away in fear. Wait! Yang called out to the retreating figure of Sun Chuanxiang. Sun Chuanxiang shuddered in fear, scared that the bench held by Yang would hit her forehead in the next second. She ran faster than a rabbit. How dared she stop for even a moment? Yang originally intended for Sun Chuanxiang to take away her basket of apples, but she didn't expect Sun Chuanxiang to be such a scaredy cat, so easily frightened. Yang picked up an apple, and was about to throw it into the trash when she looked at the charming red apples. She suddenly retracted her hand. This basket of apples must weigh at least 3 or 4 pounds. It's a waste to throw them away. The rotten one is Sun Chuanxiang, not the apples. Forget it. She'll take the apples then. She can use them to make dried apples and apple cider vinegar later. Not only did she teach Sun Chuanxiang a lesson today, but she also got a basket of apples for free. This was not a bad deal. Yang was in a good mood, and hummed a little tune along the way as she delivered the tables and chairs. Huh. A chuckle came from the quiet alley. A tall figure appeared with a black hat covering his features apart from his attractive jawline. A cigarette wedged between his fingers. The little girl has become more and more ruthless. And more impressive. She is like a raw gem, always bringing unexpected surprises. His little follower Wu Darning walked over, curious. Brother Lu, have you taken a fancy to that little girl? Don't get him wrong, that little girl not only has a fiery temper, but also looks pretty good. There's probably no one as attractive as her in the whole of Beijing. Is the title little girl what you should call her? The man named Brother Lu looked down at Wu Darning. Just wait, she will be your sister-in-law sooner or later. Sister-in-law. Wu Darning looked up at the man. Brother Lu, are you joking? Over the years, countless young girls had chased after Brother Lu, but he wouldn't even take a look at them. Is he now head over heels for someone? While I'm not around, remember to have someone look after your future sister-in-law. After thinking for a moment, the man chuckled. But then again, I don't think anyone can bully her. Wu Darning's mouth dropped open. It took him a while to react, and he quickly set off to catch up with the man. After Sun Chuanxiang went back, the more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Why? Why did she waste a basket of apples and still end up getting frustrated? No way. She had to get her revenge. She couldn't believe that she, a woman in her 50s, was inferior to a teenage girl. Sister Chuanxiang. Just then, a familiar voice sounded in front of her stall. Sun Chuanxiang looked up and smiled. Xiaolu. The one who came was not someone else, but Lu Wan. Lu Wan used to work with Sun Chuanxiang in the same workshop. Later, when the factory laid off workers, Sun Chuanxiang was already older and decided to retire early. Since then, she had been operating a small stall to make ends meet. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. Lu Wan and Sun Chuanxiang got along very well due to their similar characters. Sister Chuanxiang, how's business been these past few days? Oh, don't even mention it. Sun Chuanxiang retorted unhappily. A little bitch came by recently and stole all of my business. Lu Wan's interest was piqued. She used to be envious when Sun Chuanxiang was making money by selling buns a few years ago. She even considered quitting her job in the factory to sell buns together. After hearing that someone stole Sun Chunxiang's business, how could Lu Wan not be excited? Chapter 117 Thrash Scum. Eat Hot Pot _5. What's going on? Tell me quickly. Lu Wan suppressed her excitement and sat down on a stool. Just a few months ago, a little temptress with the surname and I moved to our street. Using her good looks to her advantage, she snatched a lot of my business away. Remember how Hong Hong got arrested recently? She's the one to blame. Sun Chuanxiang shifted all the blame onto Ni Yang. Lu Wan didn't care about who was right or wrong and echoed Sun Chunxiang's words. Such people truly have no shame. Sooner or later, they'll meet their downfall. Don't worry, Sister Chuanxiang. Once I'm free, I'll go and confront that little fox. I want to see how she seduces men. Sun Chuanxiang was deeply moved by Lu Wan's words. Xiaolu, I really can't thank you enough. With Lu Wan's understanding and willingness to listen, Sun Chuanxiang poured out all her grievances. Upon learning that Sun Chuanxiang had been having a hard time recently, Lu Wan couldn't help but feel overjoyed. To prevent Sun Chuanxiang from asking her for a loan, Lu Wan preemptively said, Sister Chuanxiang, given our many years of friendship, I should step in and help you out during such a difficult time, but all my money has recently gone toward helping my little brother buy a house. With Lu Wan having taken such a stand, what else could Sun Chuanxiang say? After delivering the table and chairs to the shop, Ni Yang didn't head straight home. Instead, she made a trip to the agricultural bank, intending to deposit all the money she had earned recently. She now had around 10,000 yuan on her. Not only was it safer to keep the money in the bank, but she could also earn interest. Even though it was Saturday, the bank was not at all crowded. The first reason was that in this era, ordinary workers didn't earn much money, and their wages could only cover daily expenses. The second reason was that the banking system of this era was still immature, and found it hard to gain people's trust. Ni Yang ended up depositing 19,000 yuan. Leaving just over 100 yuan for spending money. 19,000 yuan. Ni Yang looked at the balance in her savings book and calculated silently in her mind. She was now only 7,000 yuan short of buying her own shop. She was now making nearly 300 yuan per day, so in about another month or so, she would be able to buy and renovate her shop. This was great news. The day she would become a fully fledged individual shop owner was just around the corner. With such exciting news, it was undoubtedly a time to celebrate. Autumn had gradually set in. And in autumn, it was only natural to enjoy some warm food. Ni Yang turned her bicycle around and made a trip to the vegetable market, where she bought plenty of vegetables. She also purchased a charcoal hot pot stove. The stove had 2 layers, making it ideal for cooking in a double flavor pot. Hot pot originated from Sichuan and Chongqing, but at this time, not many people ate it. The first reason was that there were no ready-made hot pot mixes to buy. The essence of hot pot lay in the base ingredients, which the average person would struggle to cook well, especially in an era when people were focused on making money, who had the spare time for gourmet cooking. The second reason was that hot pot consumed too much oil. Most ordinary families couldn't even afford meat, let alone oil. After buying the pot, Ni Yang then headed over to a stall selling beef and mutton. Boss, how much is the beef? 5 yuan per pound. Ni Yang pointed at the mutton. And the mutton? The beef and mutton vendor was a middle-aged man with a chubby face. Seeing that Ni Yang was a young girl who looked like she couldn't afford to buy meat, he answered impatiently, Mutton is 5.5 yuan per pound. If you can't afford it, stand further away. Don't block my business. People of this era all pursued fatness. The fatness of being overweight. Due to poverty, they couldn't afford to eat meat, so people believed that those who were fat were wealthy and looked dignified when they went out, like a leader. Only those who were wealthy could afford to eat meat, and only those who ate meat could become fat. That's why the rich and the minor leaders of this era all had beer bellies. To them, Ni Yang, who was so slender and tall, didn't look like a rich person. Undeterred by the middle-aged man's attitude, and I Young moved on to the next stall, and cheerfully pointed to the beef and mutton. "Uncle, I would like a pound of each, please." The vendor at this stall was a friendly Mediterranean-looking man. The Mediterranean uncle hadn't had any customers all afternoon, so he was surprised when he suddenly got a big order. He cheerfully replied, "Of course, young lady. Wait just a moment." Because beef and mutton were expensive, people who came to buy it usually only bought a few ounces at a time, who would buy a whole pound in one go. Chapter 118 Thrash Scum. Eat Hot Pot 6. Seeing In I Young give the bald man 2 big Unity tickets, the middle-aged man instantly regretted so much that his intestines turned green. He slapped himself twice silently. "Blinded by your dog eyes. Blinded by your dog eyes." In I Young took the change from the bald man. Her eyes fell on the cow bones on the counter, and asked, "Uncle, how much do you sell these cow bones for?" The bald man enthusiastically replied, "The cow bones cost 2 cents for a pound. If you want 111, give them to you for 1.5 cents a pound." Because the cow bones had no meat and people didn't know how to consume them, these bones basically went unsold. Who would have eaten their fill and bought a few bare bones home? But in I Yang's eyes, these cow bones were all treasures. Although there was no meat on the cow bones, they were extremely nutritious. The soup made from them was both fragrant and rich, and they even contained bone marrow. They were perfect for making hot pot broth. "I want 10 pounds. Okay." The bald man quickly weighed the beef bones. "A little over 11 pounds, let's call it 10 pounds. "Thank you, uncle." And I Young handed the bald man a 1 and 5 yuan note, and reached out to take the beef bones. Passing by the toy shop, and I Young purchased a rattle drum and a little rubber ducky for little and I Yin. Little and I Yin was now over 2 months old, and it was a very active time for her. When Enai Yang arrived home, Enai Tsuehua was sitting at the front door waiting for Enai Yang while practicing her handwriting. After some practice, Enai Kuihua's handwriting had greatly improved on her initial attempts. She could now write many characters independently, without having to look at the textbook. "Mom, your handwriting is now really beautiful," Enai Yang complimented sincerely. Enai Tsuehua responded with a smile, "That's all thanks to my little teacher over here." Enai Yang said, "It's more that you're smart. If you were a dunce, no matter how good one taught, you wouldn't learn." Students under a teacher could be good or bad. Enai Tsuehua patted Enai Yang's head. All you know is how to please your mother. Speaking of, food is in the pot. Yang, you should go eat." Enai Yang nodded and asked, "Mom, where's my little sister?" "She's sleeping in the back room." Oh. Funnily enough, just as Enai Yang stepped into the room, little Enai Yun woke up. Now she was gnawing on her white little feet. Seeing Enai Yang come over, she started laughing happily. "Yin." Enai Yang went over to pick up little Enai Yun. Even though little Enai Yun couldn't talk yet, she would still gurgle in excitement when she saw her big sister. Enai Yang handed little Enai Yun the rattle drum and the rubber ducky. "Is Yun happy?" Little Enai Yun didn't know how to play with the ducky, but she shook the rattle drum, making it create a ruckus. Enai Tsuehua came in from outside worried. Yang, money is hard for you to earn. Why are you spending it carelessly on toys for your sister again?" Enai Yang replied with a smile. "Buying things for my sister doesn't count as wasting money." Enai Tsuehua reached out to pick up little Enai Yin. "I'll hold her, you go eat your meal quickly." Enai Yang turned and headed to the kitchen to eat. In the afternoon, Enai Yang went down to the river to retrieve the crayfish trap. The river bank was completely deserted, and not even a herdsboy could be seen. It was unknown why, but every time Enai Yang arrived at the riverbank, she would inexplicably think of Mo Chishan. Was it because Mo Chishan had helped her retrieve the crayfish trap for several days in a row? Not long ago, Enai Yang had been able to see Mo Chishan by the river every afternoon. Yet starting from yesterday, he seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth. In such times, there were no mobile phones, let alone WeChat or QQ. Once someone lost contact with another, they might never see each other again. Thinking about this, Enai Yang suddenly felt a sense of melancholy. But the very next second, Enai Yang chuckled faintly. He was just a man, what was there to be heartbroken about? A man as ungrateful as a stray dog, good riddance if he left. After returning home, Young prepared the fish she had gotten and started preparing dinner for the night. The first thing she did was to parboil the beef bones before scooping out the floating scum and starting over to make the soup. Add to it some green onions, ginger, garlic, star anise, and cinnamon bark. After bringing it to a rolling boil, turn down the heat and let it simmer for a few minutes, gradually letting the fragrance spread. It somewhat resembled the flavor of the Lanzhou hand-pulled noodles from her past life. However, it was much more fragrant than that of the Lanzhou noodles. While the beef bone soup was simmering on the stove, Young started preparing the hot pot base. Young had worked in the catering industry in her previous life, so she knew how to make the sauce base more flavorful and which ingredients paired well with it. In no time, the aroma filled the entire courtyard. The smell was mouth-watering. While Young was preparing the spices, Tsuehua was washing vegetables on the side. Young bought a lot of vegetables. There was duck's blood, tripe, kelp, beef and lamb, bean sprouts, enoki mushrooms, and so on. Of course, no hot pot would be complete without fish balls and shrimp paste. However, pre-made shrimp paste wasn't available at this time. So Young planned to make it herself and see if she could succeed. The fish and shrimp were just caught from the fish trap today, so there was no cost involved. Quihua's knife skills were impressive. In no time, she removed the bones from the shrimp and fish meat and minced them. That night, when Chungue saw the hot and steamy copper pot on the table with a layer of red oil floating on the surface, she couldn't help exclaiming, Yang, are we having hot pot tonight? Yang came out from the back. Yes, Auntie and I, we're having hot pot tonight. There was a hot pot restaurant in the city of Beijing. Chungue had gone there once with her boss, but because of the high price, she never went again. Although it had been a long time since, Chungue would never forget that delicious, spicy and sour taste. She just didn't know if the hot pot Yang made would be as delicious as the one she had last time. When Chungue tasted the food from the hot pot, she was so excited she didn't know what to say. It was so delicious. 100 times better than the one she had in the restaurant before. The boiled beef dipped in the oil sauce prepared by Yang tasted divine. A subtle spiciness and numbness danced on the tip of her tongue, stimulating the taste buds and leaving an unforgettable aftertaste. And with a glass of ice-cold plum juice, it was irresistibly delicious. Chungue picked up a humble-looking meatball, originally thinking that it was just a regular meatball, only to be surprised by its firm texture. One bite and it was smooth and chewy, mouthful of meaty flavor, satisfying and fulfilling, making one wish to swallow even their tongue. Chungue had never tasted such a meat bale before, and curiously asked, Yang, what kind of meat bale is this? Yang explained with a smile, this is called shrimp paste, it's made from shrimp meat and starch. Chungue was surprised and asked, you made this shrimp paste yourself? Yang nodded. Amazing. Yang was truly amazing. If Yang were to open a hot pot restaurant, the one in the city would have to close instantly. But Chungue couldn't bother praising Yang anymore, because the hot pot was so delicious that she just wanted to enjoy it fully. Tsuehua picked up a piece of tripe and said, Yang, this tripe is a bit tough to chew. Did it get undercooked? Yang picked up a piece of raw tripe and while demonstrating how to cook it explained, when eating tripe you have to swish it back and forth 7 up 8 down, like this. Chapter 119. A slap in the face. Turns out Yin was not bragging. _1 7 up, 8 down? This so-called 7 up, 8 down refers to rinsing a piece of tripe 7 times in the hot pot. The whole process takes about 15 seconds. Not only was Tsuehua stunned by this, even Chungue was taken aback. Because it was their first time learning that tripe could be eaten like this. Was it really cooked just by scalding it a few times? Tripe usually has a very strong smell. Yang placed the scalded tripe on Quihua's plate. Mom, please have a taste. Tsuehua stared at the tripe in the bowl, hesitated for 2 seconds, then picked it up and put it in her mouth, and began to chew. Her originally cold expression gradually turned into one of astonishment. The tripe not only lacked the expected strong smell, but was crisp and tender, dissolving beautifully in her mouth. It was numbingly spicy, and biting into it released the flavors of sesame and crushed peanuts. whetting her appetite and complementing her meal so well it brought tears to her eyes. Having tasted something so delicious, Anai Tsuehua felt that even if she was asked to ascend to heaven to be an immortal, she might not agree. Seeing Anai Kuihua's reaction, Anai Chungue couldn't resist swallowing. Yang Yang's mom, how does it taste? Delicious. Anai Tsuehua nodded her head in agreement. Sister Chungue, you should try it too. Was it really that delicious? Initially resistant Anai Chungue, seeing Anai Kuihua's reaction, immediately picked up a piece of tripe and 7-Up, ate down in the bubbling red oil pot. The flavor was surprisingly good. Yang, where did you learn this new way of eating? The taste is really good. Anai Chungue had not even heard of this 7-Up, ate down method before. Anai Yang smiled and said, it was introduced in a gourmet cookbook. Anai Chungue nodded. Oh. The boiling red oil in the pot filled the air with smoke, veiling the laughter of the three people. Anai Yang, who had not eaten spicy food for a long time, was eating duck's blood while gulping down sour plum soup. It was the first time Anai Yang discovered that Anai Tsuehua and Anai Chungue could eat so much spicy food. They heartily enjoyed the hot pot meal. In the end, Anai Chungue took the initiative to clean up, while Anai Tsuehua went to feed and bathe the baby. Anai Yang was in the kitchen preparing Mrs. Mo's meal. The kitchen lights were a bit dim. When Anai Chungue turned around, she saw Anai Yang bent over focusing on her work. In the dim light, her features seemed extremely delicate, her eyes were clear and radiant like dazzling stars, and her skin was so tender it looked like it could be pinched out water. In terms of attractiveness, she could easily outclass even the most traditionally beautiful girls. Compared to Anai Yang 2 months ago, the Anai Yang now looked 10 times better. Moreover, it was not only Anai Yang who had changed, Anai Chungue also noticed many changes in herself. The most noticeable changes were to her breasts, teeth, and hair. Her breasts had become much firmer, making her look better in clothes. Her teeth had become whiter. Even though she brushed twice a day, her teeth were never quite white, always giving off a slight yellow tint. But now, every day when she looked in the mirror, she could see her teeth shining. Also her hair, which used to be dry, brittle and yellowish, had now become black and shiny, so smooth that female colleagues around her were asking her what brand of shampoo she used. Anai Chungue felt that all these changes were because of the delicious food that Anai Yang cooked. Thinking this in her heart, Anai Chungue asked out loud. Anai Yang did not expect that Anai Chungue would be so observant to notice these details. Faced with Anai Chungue's curiosity, Anai Yang smiled and nodded. Yes, Auntie Anai, it does have a lot to do with the food we eat every day. Anai Chungue was amazed and said, Yang, how did you manage to achieve this? I've been eating food all my life, and I've never known that food can have a beautifying effect. Anai Yang smiled and said, it mainly depends on eating the right things. Some beauty is inherent, and some beauty depends on daily maintenance. Here, Anai Yang pulled out the menu. For example, look at this sour and spicy tender ginger mixed with lettuce. Ginger is known for its rust-removing properties, and lettuce contains fluorine. The combination of these two can effectively whiten teeth. Anai Chungue was amazed by hearing this. No wonder my teeth have gotten so much whiter recently. It turns out to be the effect of ginger and lettuce. Yang, how did you know all this? Anai Yang explained, because I am a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, I know a little about the efficacy of plants. Anai Chungue nodded, and for a moment, she felt even more admiration for Anai Yang. Chapter 120. A slap in the face. Turns out Anai Yin was not bragging. This little girl is really incredible. She's much more outstanding than someone who has lived for over 40 years. Anai Tsuehua is truly blessed to have such a wonderful daughter in this life. Anai Chungue then asked, Yang, what kind of benefits do the meals you prepare for the old lady have? As Anai Yang was washing the vegetables, she replied, elderly people have a poor appetite, so I prepare some appetizing and easily digestible dishes. Occasionally, one also prepares some dishes that can prevent osteoporosis. The next morning, Anai Yang got up at around 3 o'clock. When she arrived at the snack street as usual, there were already many people waiting in line for her. In order to eat the fragrant noodles earlier, everyone voluntarily helped Anai Yang to set up the tables, chairs, and stools. With everyone's help, All the preparations were done in less than 5 minutes. And Na-young expressed her gratitude with a smile. Someone joked, "Young boss, if you work faster and get the noodles ready sooner, that's the best way to thank us." "That's right, young boss, hurry up. All of us are waiting to eat noodles." And Na-young didn't waste time, and immediately started to prepare the noodles skillfully. Soon slurping noises filled the air as everyone started to eat their noodles. Enjoying a bite of the sour and refreshing noodles, followed by a sip of sour plum soup, tasted incredibly good. A lot of people were marveling at how the noodles could be so delicious while they were eating. Li Gongqing came a bit late that morning, and it was almost his turn when the noodles were about to sell out. As per usual, Na-young cooked 2 bowls of noodles for him. After finishing his meal, Li Gongqing walked over to Na-young and handed her a beautifully wrapped box and a red envelope. "Xiaoni, this is for you." Na-young didn't reach out to take it and looked at him in surprise. Li Gongqing explained, "This is from our old lady. She really enjoys the meals you prepare." Na-young tactfully refused. "You've already paid for the meals, I can't accept this." Even though Na-young liked money, she was not greedy. "It's okay." Li Gongqing said with a smile, "The old lady really likes you, and ever since she started eating your food, her health has significantly improved. This is what you deserve. When the old lady asked me to give you this, she repeatedly reminded me that you must accept it. Besides, the old lady always likes to give us tips, so just accept it without feeling any pressure." Everything Li Gongqing said was true, and since the old lady asked him to bring these things, she didn't plan to take them back. Moreover, these things mean nothing to the wealthy Mo family. After saying all that, Li Gongqing was left with no other arguments. And Na-young had no choice but to accept it. "Then please thank the old lady for me when you go back, Mr. Li." Scratching his head, Li Gongqing said with a smile, "Our old lady always says she should thank you." After all, Na-young gave Mrs. Mo a healthier body. Money has a price, but health is priceless. Along with the sour plum soup, Na-young earned over 310 yuan today. When she got home, Na-young opened the gift box and red envelope from Mrs. Mo while eating. There were 18 unity notes in the red envelope, which amounted to 180 yuan. The gift in the box gave Na-young quite a shock. Inside the red velvet box was a flat, patterned pure gold bracelet. It had a significant weight in her hand, at least 30 or 40 grams. At this time gold was priced at 4.5 yuan per gram. At the current exchange rate of the RMB, this bracelet was worth more than 1,500 yuan. It must be said, the old woman is extremely generous. Giving a gift worth more than 1,000 yuan without a second thought really showed the Mo family's substantial wealth. Just then Tsuehua came out from her room. When she saw the gold bracelet in Na-young's hand, she was startled. "Yang, is this gold bracelet real or fake?" At that time, a worker could only buy 1 gram of gold with a month's salary, so gold was a particularly precious commodity. Na-young recounted the whole story to Tsuehua. Tsuehua sighed. She couldn't imagine how wealthy the Mo family must be to give away a gold bracelet so casually. "Yang, since the old lady values you so much, you must be even more responsible in the future. Don't let down the old lady's trust and affection for you," Tsuehua instructed. Na-young nodded. "Yes, Mom, don't worry, I will." Chapter 077. A slap in the face. Turns out Na-young was not bragging. This little girl is really incredible. She's much more outstanding than someone who has lived for over 40 years. Tsuehua is truly blessed to have such a wonderful daughter in this life. Chingure then asked, "Yang, what kind of benefits do the meals you prepare for the old lady have?" As Na-young was washing the vegetables, she replied, "Elderly people have a poor appetite, so I prepare some appetizing and easily digestible dishes. Occasionally, one also prepares some dishes that can prevent osteoporosis." The next morning, Na-young got up at around 3 o'clock. When she arrived at the snack street as usual, there were already many people waiting in line for her. In order to eat the fragrant noodles earlier, everyone voluntarily helped Na-young to set up the tables, chairs, and stools. With everyone's help, all the preparations were done in less than 5 minutes. Na-young expressed her gratitude with a smile. Someone joked, Young boss, if you work faster and get the noodles ready sooner, that's the best way to thank us. That's right, young boss, hurry up. All of us are waiting to eat noodles. And Young didn't waste time, and immediately started to prepare the noodles skillfully. Soon, slurping noises filled the air as everyone started to eat their noodles. Enjoying a bite of the sour and refreshing noodles, followed by a sip of sour plum soup, tasted incredibly good. A lot of people were marveling at how the noodles could be so delicious while they were eating. Li Gongcheng came a bit late that morning, and it was almost his turn when the noodles were about to sell out. As per usual, Young cooked 2 bowls of noodles for him. After finishing his meal, Li Gongqing walked over to Young and handed her a beautifully wrapped box and a red envelope. Xiaoni, this is for you. Young didn't reach out to take it and looked at him in surprise. Li Gongqing explained, "This is from our old lady. She really enjoys the meals you prepare." Young tactfully refused. "You've already paid for the meals, I can't accept this." Even though Young liked money, she was not greedy. "It's okay." Li Gongqing said with a smile, "The old lady really likes you, and ever since she started eating your food, her health has significantly improved. This is what you deserve. When the old lady asked me to give you this, she repeatedly reminded me that you must accept it. Besides, the old lady always likes to give us tips, so just accept it without feeling any pressure." Everything Li Gongqing said was true, and since the old lady asked him to bring these things, she didn't plan to take them back. Moreover, these things mean nothing to the wealthy Mo family. After saying all that, Li Gongqing was left with no other arguments. Young had no choice but to accept it. "Then please thank the old lady for me when you go back, Mr. Li." Scratching his head, Li Gongqing said with a smile, "Our old lady always says she should thank you." After all, Young gave Mrs. Mo a healthier body. Money has a price, but health is priceless. Along with the sour plum soup, Young earned over 310 yuan today. When she got home, Young opened the gift box and red envelope from Mrs. Mo while eating. There were 18 unity notes in the red envelope, which amounted to 180 yuan. The gift in the box gave Young quite a shock. Inside the red velvet box was a flat, patterned pure gold bracelet. It had a significant weight in her hand, at least 30 or 40 grams. At this time, gold was priced at 4.5 yuan per gram. At the current exchange rate of the RMB, this bracelet was worth more than 1,500 yuan. It must be said, the old woman is extremely generous. Giving a gift worth more than 1,000 yuan without a second thought really showed the Mo family's substantial wealth. Just then, Cuihua came out from her room. When she saw the gold bracelet in Yang's hand, she was startled. Yang, is this gold bracelet real or fake?" At that time, a worker could only buy 1 gram of gold with a month's salary. So gold was a particularly precious commodity. Yang recounted the whole story to Cuihua. Cuihua sighed. She couldn't imagine how wealthy the Mo family must be to give away a gold bracelet so casually. "Yang, since the old lady values you so much, you must be even more responsible in the future. Don't let down the old lady's trust and affection for you." Cuihua instructed. Yang nodded. "Yes, Mom, don't worry, I will." Chapter 121. A slap in the face. Turns out Yin was not bragging. 3. With that, Yang handed the bracelet to Cuihua. "Mom, this bracelet is for you." "One don't want it." Cuihua refused. "You should keep what the old lady gave you." Yang smiled. "What does it look like for a young girl like me to wear this? Besides, one don't like wearing things on my hand." Cuihua continued to refuse. "A woman my age wearing a bracelet would invite ridicule. A bracelet like this should be worn by young girls like you." Yang pushed the bracelet into Cuihua's hand. "Mom, just take it." Seeing Yang insisting, Cuihua had no choice but to take it. "Then one will keep it for you. When you get married, I will give it back to you as part of your dowry." Yang chuckled. "Mom, just wear it yourself." Cuihua, not one for showiness, denied. "I won't wear it, I'm keeping it for you." Yang continued. "Anyway, I have already given the bracelet to you. You can do anything you want with it." And Ai turned back to her room and hid the bracelet in a concealed spot. In the blink of an eye, nearly a month had passed. Yang's business had been surprisingly good during this time, with a queue of customers waiting for noodles every morning. This provoked such jealousy in Sun Chuanxiang that she wished for Yang to drop dead on the spot. Luckily, curses and voodoo dolls were useless. Otherwise, Yang might have died hundreds of times. Interestingly enough, Qian Jinfeng woke up late because of a cold and didn't prepare breakfast, so she decided to go to the snack street to buy something to eat. From afar, she saw a long queue at one of the stalls. Is this a new breakfast stall? How much money would the boss make from so many customers? As Qian Jinfeng approached through the smoke, she saw a profoundly familiar face. Is this Yang? Yes, those stools, that table, that big bucket, that bicycle. They all certainly belonged to Yang. Once she was sure she wasn't mistaken, Qian Jinfeng rubbed her eyes and refocused on Yang. It was Yang. Indeed, it was Yang. My goodness. Turns out Yang hadn't been bluffing. Her business was indeed booming. Isn't that horrifying? Qian Jinfeng counted and found almost 100 people waiting in line. And not only was Yang selling noodles, but she was also selling drinks. How much money must she be making? Qian Jinfeng instantly became envious. She forced a smile and walked over to a middle-aged woman who was sitting by the roadside eating noodles. Big sister, how much did you pay for this bowl of noodles? The middle-aged woman replied with a smile. Not expensive, it's quite cheap. Only 3 cents a bowl. Lady, if you want to eat, you should get in line quickly. If you queue now, you might still get a bowl. This young stall owner only makes 700 bowls a day, and once they're sold out, that's it. 3 cents a bowl, and she can sell 700 bowls a day. After getting the exact answer, Qian Jinfeng began to calculate in her mind how much Yang could earn in a day. She wouldn't know until she did the math, and once she did, it startled her. Yang could make 210 yuan a day. That's 6,300 yuan a month. And this was just from selling noodles. She was selling drinks as well. Yang must be earning at least 9,000 yuan a month. Realizing that the earning could be 9,000 yuan, Qian Jinfeng felt even worse than if she had eaten a lemon. She couldn't stop the bitterness welling up in her heart. She owned a small shop that only made about 100 yuan a day, while Yang, who had set up just a stand, was making 3 times as much as she was. How frightening was that? Vigorously subduing her astonishment, Qian Jinfeng didn't even bother buying breakfast. She just wanted to rush home and tell all of this to Li Dongliang. Seeing Qian Jinfeng coming back empty-handed, Li Dongliang was somewhat indignant. Didn't you say you were going to buy breakfast? Where's the breakfast? Qian Jinfeng said. Old Li, guess who I saw on the snack street just now? Who? Asked Li Dongliang without even looking up. Yang. Qian Jinfeng spurted out the 2 words. Unfazed, Li Dongliang said. So what if you saw her? She used to brag about her successful business. How is it? Did she look embarrassed and awkward when she saw you? What could a young girl like her know about doing business? She'll probably go bankrupt within a few days. Caught by Qian Jinfeng now, that young girl won't dare to even lift her head when she comes to their house to place things. Awkward? Why should she feel awkward? Qian Jinfeng bitterly said. Her business is doing well. The queue almost reaches the entrance to our store. Chapter 122. A slap in the face. Turns out Yin was not bragging. _4. No way. Are you running a fever or something? Li Dongliang reached out to feel Qian Jinfeng's forehead. Qian Jinfeng grabbed Li Dongliang's hand. Don't believe me? I'll take you to see for yourself. It wasn't until they arrived at Yang's stall that Li Dongliang finally opened his eyes in surprise. He even slapped himself twice to see if he was dreaming. Then, Qian Jinfeng explained to Li Dongliang how much Yang was making each day. What? After hearing this, Li Dongliang was totally shocked. She earns 9,000 yuan a month? Are you kidding me? Does she tell you how much she makes daily? Seeing Li Dongliang's disbelief, Qian Jinfeng made a calculation. Pickled fish noodles cost 3 cents per bowl. She sells about 700 bowls a day. Sour plum soup costs 1 cent per cup. She sells about 1,000 cups a day. You can do the math. Li Dongliang immediately began calculating with his fingers, and indeed, the result was no different from what Qian Jinfeng had calculated. At this moment, Li Dongliang was completely deflated. Just like Qian Jinfeng, he was so envious he almost wanted to overturn An Yang's stand. Why did their big store make less money than half of what An Yang earned? That was too bullying. The couple looked downcast as if someone owed them millions. They gave up on buying breakfast because the sourness in their stomachs was too much. They were already filled with sourness. After returning to their shop, the couple didn't even bother to do business and sighed to each other. Around 11 o'clock in the morning, after all her noodles were sold, An Yang brought her tables and stools to Li Dongliang's shop. An Yang still greeted Li Dongliang and Qian Jinfeng warmly as usual. Normally Li Dongliang would ask smugly, Yang, how was business today? But today, after witnessing An Yang's business with his own eyes, did Li Dongliang still have the mood to poke fun at An Yang? Moreover, every time he saw An Yang's face, he would think about how much money she was making, and his heart would constrict with indigestion. It's so uncomfortable. Envy is a green-eyed monster. An Yang didn't think too much. She just arranged her tables and stools by herself. Just then, Li Wei came down the stairs with his textbooks. When he saw An Yang there, he took his books to ask An Yang for help. An Yang, could you help me with this English question? An Yang glanced back, sure. An English question that seemed difficult to Li Wei was solved by An Yang in less than a minute. As it happened often, Li Wei was not surprised but calmly thanked her. Anyway, as long as An Yang was just a self-employed worker, she would never be as good as him, so there was nothing to be jealous of. An Yang smiled and said, "You're welcome." In the room, Qian Jinfeng nudged Li Dongliang with her elbow, gesturing for him to look out the window. "Old Li, look, that girl An Yang is intentionally talking to our Xiaowei again." Li Dongliang's envious heart finally found some balance. He snorted. So what if she can make money? Without an education, she'll always be a lower-class person. Our Xiaowei would never settle for her. No matter how capable An Yang was, she still wanted to marry their son. Pitiful. Their family really looked down on An Yang. Their son Li Wei was their golden phoenix. What did An Yang count for? She wouldn't even qualify as a sparrow. Qian Jinfeng nodded. Yeah, you're right, old Li. I have to talk to Xiaowei properly and make sure he doesn't get bewitched by this fox. An Yang went to the agricultural bank again today and deposited 7,500 yuan. Together with the previous 19,000, it all added up to 26,500 yuan. That was more than enough to buy a shop. However, An Yang planned to keep selling noodles until the end of the month before buying the shop, because there would be renovation costs, hiring workers, and many other expenses. Now that she persisted until the present and could buy a shop, An Yang finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the evening, An Yang made another table full of delicious food. That night, Qian Jinfeng couldn't sleep. She kept tossing and turning. Why can An Yang make so much money in a day? Similarly, Li Dongliang next to her couldn't sleep either. Qian Jinfeng poked Li Dongliang. Let me ask you. You lend the shop downstairs to An Yang for storing her tables and stools. How much do you charge her per month? 1 yuan. Li Dongliang answered. 1 yuan. Qian Jinfeng exploded. She makes so much money selling noodles every day, and you only charge her 1 yuan. Chapter 123. A slap in the face. Turns out An Yan was not bragging. _5. Li Dongliang said restlessly. How could one have known she made so much money before? Qian Jinfeng continued. No, we should increase her rent. How much? Li Dongliang asked next. Qian Jinfeng held up one finger. 1 yuan. Li Dongliang asked. No. Qian Jinfeng shook her head. Li Dongliang incredulously said. It couldn't be 100, could it? Yes, Qian Jinfeng nodded. It is 100. 100? You know, the rent for their entire shop was just a little over 100. This would mean that An Yang was paying their rent. Moreover, An Yang was just using some tables and stools. Could she afford 100 yuan? Qian Jinfeng noticed Li Dongliang's concerns. Doesn't pay? She dare not pay. If she doesn't, I will not let her place things here. If it weren't for placing her goods here, Would she be able to earn so much money? I think 100 is too little. In my opinion, it's not unreasonable for Inai Yang to share half of her earnings with us. Li Dongliang nodded. You have a point. Qian Jinfeng was absolutely right. If it weren't for their help, Inai Yang wouldn't have been able to earn so much money. After all, the people Inai Yang should be most grateful to are their family. Qian Jinfeng added. Don't worry about this, one will talk to her tomorrow morning. Okay. After discussing the matter, the couple went to sleep. The next morning, Qian Jinfeng cheerfully brought up the rent increase to Inai Yang. 100? Did Qian Jinfeng really think money flowed from a river? Such audacity. Inai Yang said with a full smile. Auntie Qian, there are a few days left till next month. For this month, my rent agreement was settled with Uncle Li. At the beginning of next month, we can raise the rent. Don't worry, I won't shortchange you by a cent. Qian Jinfeng did not expect Inai Yang to agree to her request so readily. If she had known, she would have asked for more rent just now. Perhaps Inai Yang also understood that her profits were all thanks to their help. Inai Yang, that foxy creature, seemed to have some sense after all. Qian Jinfeng continued. Yang, let's take advantage of this spare time and sign the agreement for next month. You can also pay next month's rent in advance. Inai Yang smiled and said. Auntie Qian, let's talk about next month when it comes. One don't have that much money on me right now. Upon hearing this, Qian Jinfeng became displeased. Your business is doing so well, how could you possibly not have money? Inai Yang began to complain. No matter how good the business is, there are still costs involved, like fish, noodles, oil, labor costs. Each one costs money. Auntie Qian, you are also a businesswoman, you should understand why. Qian Jinfeng added. How much could those things cost? Don't think one don't know. The fish is not expensive at all. Inai Yang swiftly arranged the tables and stools, then said. Goodbye, Auntie Qian. We'll talk about the rent next month. She already had an agreement with Li Dongliang for this month's rent, so she wasn't afraid of Qian Jinfeng causing trouble. By next month she would be long gone, leaving Qian Jinfeng frustrated. Having said this, Inai Yang rode her bicycle off into the distance. Qian Jinfeng spit on the ground out of anger. Humph! Little vixen. Inai Yang wouldn't be able to escape. Next month was just next month then. Qian Jinfeng thought to herself, should she adjust the rent to 200 yuan next month? After all, they hold Inai Yang's lifeline. As long as they don't allow Inai Yang to place her items, she wouldn't be able to do business. Never mind 200, even if it were 300, Inai Yang would have to pay. With this in mind, Qian Jinfeng felt quite pleased. After hearing about Sun Chengxiang's affairs, Luwan had wanted to see the noodle vendor herself. She wanted to see what Sun Chengxiang's so-called little vixen looked like. It was finally Luwan's day off. When she arrived, it was nearly 11, but the stall still had a long queue. At this moment, a clear, unmatched female voice sounded through the air. There are only 10 portions of noodle soup left, and the sour plum soup has sold out. There is no need to queue any longer. Come and get a small card from me. Tomorrow morning you can come and get a bowl of noodles for 5 cents cheaper. This voice, why did it sound so familiar? Luwan frowned slightly. She strode a few steps forward. Upon seeing the vendor, she was stunned. The person selling the noodles was no one else but Inai Yang. Chapter 124. A slap in the face. Turns out Inai Yang was not bragging. _6. Could this really be Inai Yang, the rustic bumpkin? Why would she be selling noodles here? Luwan felt her worldview slowly crumbling. How much did Sun Chuanxiang say this bumpkin could earn in a day again? Was it 300? 300. That's 300. She and Inai Daju worked in the factory, toiling to the point of exhaustion, only to earn 40 yuan a month. Together, they made 80 yuan a month. But good ol' bumpkin Inai Yang could make 2 months' worth of their wage in a day. Luwan was practically green with envy. At the same time, she deeply regretted not taking this country buffoon in initially. Maybe all the money this hayseed was making could have been hers. Just the thought of it made her heart ache. But it wasn't too late to realize this now. After all, she was Inai Yang's aunt, her elder. Inai Yang should hand over the money she earned for safekeeping. What on earth does this rustic who knows nothing want with so much money? She probably doesn't even know how to put it aside, much less guard it. What if she loses it? Luwan took a deep breath, walked up to Anayang with a smile and affectionately greeted, "Yang Yang." Anayang handed her last bowl of noodles to a customer, looked up, and saw Luwan's ingratiating face. A look of indifference crossed Anayang's face. "Comrade, do I know you?" Caught off guard, Luwan chuckled. "Yang Yang, look at the way you talk. I'm your aunt. How could you not recognize me after just a few days?" Anayang had thought Sun Chuanxiang was already brazen enough. Turns out Luwan put her to shame. "My mom is an orphan who doesn't even know who her parents are. Are you claiming to be an ant who sprouted from a rock?" Anayang retorted. With a thick skin, Luwan smiled. "Yang Yang, your aunt knows you're still angry about that day. But your uncle only spoke rashly out of anger. Your mother is his biological sister after all." Without a word, Anayang began clearing the stove and the bucket, ignoring Luwan. Luwan immediately started helping, smiling obsequiously. "Yang Yang, this strenuous manual labor isn't suitable for a young girl like you. Let your aunt handle it. Go have a rest. Put it down." Anayang's voice was composed. "What?" Luwan blinked in surprise, her smile slightly forced. If Anayang was not rolling in money, she would not stoop so low as to fawn over her. What a disgusting act. Does she think she's something special? "I'm asking you to put it down." Anayang repeated. Her tone was calm, but carried an undercurrent that cut deep. The hand Luwan was using to hold the large iron spoon trembled involuntarily. "Why, Yang Yang, why you don't need to be polite with your aunt. I'm not tired." Anayang continued. "Miss, if you don't put my stuff down, 111 be contacting the police for robbery. There are patrolling officers right over there." Robbery. The word made Luwan turn white. It was a critical time with strict law enforcement. As a formal factory worker, even a tiny blemish could get her fired from the factory. Besides, Luwan cared a great deal about her reputation. If the police were really summoned here, in this great public spectacle, how could she save face? "Yang Yang, don't be upset, your aunt will put it down, one will put it down." Luwan carefully placed the large iron spoon back into the bucket. "Stay away from me." Anayang spoke coldly. Luwan immediately stepped back. "Why, Yang Yang, your uncle didn't mean what happened that day. He regrets it very much after you and your mother left. He was so worried that he couldn't sleep or eat well for several days. Your uncle is, after all, an elder. Can you please let it go? Your aunt is willing to apologize on behalf of your uncle." Luwan went on in a humble tone, saying many nice words to Anayang, but Anayang did not respond at all. "Yang Yang, we were wrong, really wrong. Please stop being angry." Even if Anayang was highly temperamental, she was only a teenage girl after all. Teenage girls were easily influenced, and maybe she could easily call her aunt with a smile after a while, Luwan idealistically thought. After clearing up, Anayang finally had time to look at the fawning Luwan. A mocking smile played on her lips. "When one treat you like a human, for the love of God, don't act like a dog." A dog? Was Anayang insulting her? Luwan was a bit slow to react. "What do you mean?" Anayang mildly smiled. "I'm just asking you to act like a human." Luwan was almost spitting with fury, yet she managed to force a smile. "Yang Yang, stop joking around." Anayang raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so being called a dog now affects your understanding of human speech?" Stifling her rage, Lu Juanave drew a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. For the sake of money, she could not lose her temper. She mustn't. Having ignored Luwan again, Anayang started carrying tables and chairs over to Li Dongliang's store. Luwan wanted to follow Anayang, but she didn't dare. No. She needed a foolproof plan. Perhaps she could start with Anai Tsuehua. That dim-witted creature Anai Tsuehua would be much easier to manipulate than Anayang. Yes. That's the way. Thinking about it, Luwan seemed to see numerous huge banknotes waving at her. Elated, she turned around to return. As long as she knew Anayang was selling noodles here, she wasn't afraid Anayang would run off. But for the upcoming matter, she needed Anai Daju to take action. After all, he and Anai Tsuehua were biological siblings. After returning, Luwan told Anai Daju everything. Upon hearing this, Daju was shocked. Really? You didn't see it wrong? Is that bitch actually that rich now? Could I have seen it wrong? Luwan continued. I even talked to her today, but her words, her tone. It seems like she may not want to acknowledge us. Enraged, Daju spat. I'm her biological uncle. She dares to disavow us. Luwan nodded. So let us go to their house tomorrow. That bitch makes a lot of money now, but you're her uncle. Her money should naturally be under your care. Having put on airs in front of Luwan for the first time, Daju was quite pleased with himself. Definitely. After all, I'm her uncle. If she doesn't give it to me, who else would she give it to? Hearing his words, Luwan narrowed her eyes into a smile, attentively massaging Daju's arms and legs, serving him well. Daju, who had always been henpecked, was finally able to sit back and reap the rewards. His face was all smiles. Luwan continued. I think that bitch must have at least a small 10,000 yuan on her hands by now. You must get it all tomorrow. Our girl Chuanxiang has long wanted new clothes, but they're too expensive in the mall, so one didn't have the heart to buy them. Chapter 125. Tortured to the point where not even dregs remain. _1 Even the cheapest clothes in the mall were over 30 yuan apiece, close to Luwan's monthly salary, so how could she afford to buy them? But now it's different. Their family has money. They could afford not just one, but even 10 items. Early the next morning, Luwan woke up Lu Xiangxiang. As the only daughter in the family, Lu Xiangxiang was pampered and loved at home. She responded angrily. Can't you let me sleep in a bit? Are you summoning spirits? Luwan laughed. Don't be upset. Get dressed. We are going to your aunt's house. Aunt? She has an aunt? At this point, Lu Xiangxiang froze, screaming. You woke me up so early, and it isn't to go to that rural bumpkin's house, is it? Luwan nodded. Mom, you must have a fever. Lu Xiangxiang reached out to touch Luwan's forehead. Didn't we already sever ties with that bumpkin? Luwan laughed and told her daughter what had happened, instructing. Xiangxiang, when we get to your aunt's house, you must remember to be polite, no more acting disrespectful. Lu Xiangxiang could not believe it. Does that bumpkin and Yang really have so much money now? Indeed, Luwan nodded. I have seen it with my own eyes. Lu Xiangxiang continued. Mom, does that mean once we have money, I can buy lots of beautiful clothes? Yes. Luwan added. I'm also planning to buy some furniture for our home, a fridge, an electric fan and such. That's great. Lu Xiangxiang jumped up excitedly, immediately went to her room to change clothes. Lu Xiangxiang quickly changed. She wore a bright red dress which Daju had reluctantly bought for her as a birthday gift last year. It cost 39 yuan. Usually Lu Xiangxiang would not wear it, but it was different now. Their family was about to become rich. Besides, she was going to see Yang. Even though that country bumpkin Yang was not educated, she was pretty. Lu Xiangxiang didn't want to lose to Yang. The family of three set off grandly. When they got to the street, Luwan said, Daju, why don't we buy some fruit to bring with us? Daju retorted, buy fruit? Why waste that money? As that girl's uncle, should she not be buying fruit for me? It's already a great favor for me to visit her. Seeing how Suehua begged last time, you can tell she sincerely cares for her brother. After all, a woman leading 2 children around needs a man, right? Without a doubt, once Suehua sees him, she would cry tears of joy. She might even kneel before him. Thinking of this, Daju felt even more proud. Lu Xiangxiang agreed. Dad is right. Why should we buy fruit for her? Are we buttering her up? The family of 3 boarded the tram. Luwan had already started planning for the future. Daju, this trip is not just about making Suehua cough up the money, but also about having that brat Yang take Xiangxiang under her wing when she does business. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiangxiang immediately objected. I don't want to do dirty and tiring work with that bumpkin. It's tiring, not to mention embarrassing. Luwan laughed. Don't worry, Xiangxiang, Mom's not asking you to work. You just need to handle the money behind that brat. That brat hasn't even finished junior high. Can she manage money? She makes 300 yuan a day. And you just have to hand over 200 yuan to your dad and me. and save the remaining 100 yuan for yourself to spend however you want. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiangxiang's eyes lit up, and she nodded in immediate agreement. Okay, Mom, I will listen to you. That's 300 yuan. My God. She had never seen that much money before. With money, she could buy not only clothes but also perfume, snowflake cream. She wants to completely surpass that country bumpkin in Aiyang. Since they did not know Nai Kuihua's exact location, it took the family of 3 all the morning to find Jinghua village. Bang bang bang. Anai Yang was washing vegetables in the courtyard when she heard the knocking on the door. Anai Tsuehua ran to answer it. As soon as she opened the door, Anai Tsuehua was stunned. Standing at the door were Anai Daju and his family. Chapter 126 Abuse to the point where there is nothing left. _2. Tsuehua. Auntie. Lu Wan and Lu Xiangxiang greeted with smiles all over their faces. Lu Wan looked at Anai Tsuehua, jealousy oozing from the depth of her eyes. Where was the pitiful figure Anai Tsuehua posed 3 months ago? She was dressed in the latest batwing blouse from the mall, flared trousers made of good quality fabric, and the most fashionable leather high-heeled shoes. Just her outfit alone would cost at least 100 yuan. That's her 3 months' salary. How could a country bumpkin dress like this? Isn't that just wasting money? Lu Wan was extremely upset. If Lu Wan were to see Anai Kuihua's golden bracelet, she would probably die of jealousy on the spot. Anai Daju looked at Anai Tsuehua and reprimanded unhappily, standing at the door like a post. Can't you see your brother is here? Could it be that Anai Tsuehua was so overjoyed that her brother showed up and became foolish? Anai Tsuehua glanced at Anai Daju and his family. Her face didn't show any excitement Daju had expected. She knew Anai Daju was here only because now he had seen that her daughter was capable and could make money. Since the day Anai Daju chased Anai Tsuehua from the family courtyard, she had been clearly aware of their vile faces. This time, she won't let them drag Anai Yang down. Anai Tsuehua coldly responded, I'm just an unwanted orphan. Where did brother come from? Comrades, you've got the wrong person, haven't you? With that, Anai Tsuehua slammed the door shut, leaving behind Anai Daju and his family dumbfounded. What just happened? How did Anai Tsuehua suddenly become so defiant? Especially Anai Daju, whose face was twisted in anger. This is outrageous. Now Anai Tsuehua even dares to treat her own brother like this. After taking the first assertive action and shutting the door, Anai Tsuehua took a deep breath. She was a little nervous. At this moment, Anai Daju and Lu Wan's angry voices and complaints came from outside the door. Look at such people, now that she's well off, she doesn't recognize us poor relatives. Open the door. Anai Tsuehua, open the door for me. How can there be such a heartless person in the world? Hearing the noise, Anai Yang quickly dropped his vegetables and went to Anai Kuihua's side. Mom, what happened? Anai Chinggui, who was resting inside, came out too. Anai Tsuehua simply explained the situation. Anai Chinggui angrily said, How can there be such shameless people in the world? I'll show them. With that, Anai Chinggui picked up the giant broom leaning beside, and walked to the courtyard door. Anai Chinggui flung the door open and swung the broom around yelling, How dare you bullies come to my face in broad daylight? Do you think it's easy to bully a widow like me? Don't be fooled by Anai Chingui's courteous appearance. When she gets mad, even 10 of you wouldn't stand a chance against her. Anai Daju and Lu Wan didn't have time to dodge, and were hit by the broom several times. This broom, which has swept not only the ground but also the orchard, didn't smell good. The noise was loud and drew a crowd of villagers. Lu Wan was scared. She quickly tried to defuse the situation. Sister, you're mistaken. We're here to see Anai Tsuehua. This is my husband Anai Daju. He's Anai Kuihua's brother. Bah. You have no shame. Anai Chinggui spat on the ground and stood with hands on hips. Everyone in Jinghua village knows Tsuehua is an orphan. When did she get a brother? Don't think that just because Tsuehua just moved here, you can bully her because she's an orphan. If you want to bully Kuihua's family, you 3 bastards have to step over my body first. Lu Wan, who prided herself on being more cultured, couldn't out-argue Anai Chinggui. She could only loudly say, Sister, let's be reasonable. My husband really is Anai Kuihua's brother. Anai Tsuehua is such an ungrateful person. She enjoys succulent food at home and ignores her brother from birth family. Even a poor relative is a relative. At these words, murmurs started amongst the villagers. If that's the case, then Enai Tsuehua was really heartless. Like the saying goes, don't forget your roots when you prosper. Every family has a few poor relatives, but how could she not recognize them? She couldn't let these people continue this misunderstanding. Enai Tsuehua braced herself and stepped forward. He's not my brother. I've been an unwanted orphan since childhood. He's merely a person who grew up in the same village. Now they see Yang Yang is doing well. They're eager to attach themselves and pretend to be relatives. It's hard to even drive them away. Chapter 127 Abused to the point where there is nothing left. 3. Why does it sound so familiar? Enai Yang raised her eyebrows slightly, then recalled. These were the words from 3 months ago. When they went to Enai Daz's house, Lu Wan used them to humiliate them. It seems that mother has really grown up. Lu Wan also sensed that something was wrong, because after all, these words came out of her mouth. Before Enai Yang could react, she was pulled by Enai Tsuehua by the wrist, and she loudly shouted, "People say that a nephew resembles his uncle. Can all of you here tell me how does our Yang Yang look like this Enai Daju? Indeed, she does not look like him at all. Yang Yang and her mother are so good-looking, this Enai Daju doesn't even come close to half of their beauty. And their daughter, even if she's dressed in dragon robes, she's not fit to be a prince, such a disgrace." Lu Wan was almost infuriated to death, her eyes reddening. She said, "Enai Tsuehua, don't forget your conscience. If you are not the sister of Daju, how can you have the surname Enai? Not only do you have this surname, you even gave your daughter the same surname as our Daju. Now you even can't acknowledge your own brother. How are you qualified to let your daughter bear the same surname as our Daju?" Enai Chingue burst into laughter and shouted, "My mother also has the surname Enai. Does that mean my mother is also your relative? The majority of people in our Jinghua village are surnamed Enai. Does that mean all of us surnamed Enai took the surname of your man? I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen people as shameless as you. Right, is it possible that all people in the world surnamed Enai follow him to be surnamed Enai? Shameless. So shameless indeed." Listening to the surrounding ridiculing, Enai Daju was so angry that his whole body was trembling. "How dare you, Enai Tsuehua? You just started to prosper, and you have already started turning your back on us. Do you even respect your big brother anymore? Enai Tsuehua, it looks like you're asking for it." Enai Daju walked directly to Enai Kuihua's side, rolled up his sleeves, and was about to hit her. After all, Enai Tsuehua was a woman. How could she stand a chance against the strong and sturdy Enai Daju? Someone is hitting others. Someone is hitting others. Enai Chingue signaled Enai Tsuehua with his eyes, then suddenly sat on the ground and began shouting, "A rogue has come to our Jinghua village to hit people." Enai Tsuehua quickly caught on, and followed suit by sitting on the ground, starting to make a fuss. "Help! Someone's killing me." The two of them played off each other, totally dumbfounding Enai Daju. He hasn't started attacking yet, and these two women are already sitting on the ground? What's the meaning of this? Are they playing dirty? They are actually playing dirty. Have they no shame? Do they really think I wouldn't dare to do something? Quickly. Let's go quickly. There's a bad guy bullying Sister Enai Yang. Gooden and Guobao led a group of small companions running this way. "Sister Enai Yang, don't be afraid. We're here to protect you. Charge. Defeat the little devils." Enai Daju was about to make a move, just when a bunch of little bastards swarmed into the yard, armed with weapons in their hands, and started hitting Enai Daz's family indiscriminately. Those with rocks were throwing rocks. Those with sticks were holding sticks. Some even simply went straight to bite them. Things happened so quickly. The scene was chaotic for a moment. Even if Enai Daz's family has the strength, they can't tackle so many of these little bastards. Enai Daju was beaten up with a bruised nose and swollen face. His eyes could not even be opened. Lu Wan was also beaten up and in a complete mess. Even Lu Xiangxiang was heavily beaten, and her carefully braided long hair was filled with cockleburr. "Kill you! Kill you bad guys! Let you bully Sister Enai Yang!" Yang Guobao and Gooden directly climbed onto Enai Daju. "Kill the little devils!" A bunch of adults stood aside, None of them seemed to want to stop them. Gooden's grandmother even stood on the side and cheered Gooden on. Anai Yang has been in Jinghua village for so long, and has helped many of us. A month ago, she got hives and couldn't sleep at night due to the itching. Anai Yang cured it with a prescription of herbal medicine, and did not even charge a penny. Anai Tsuehua is also a very honest and down-to-earth person. Both of them are good people. They can't be bullied by a group of shameless people. Looking at the scene before her, Anai Yang's nose suddenly turned sour, and she almost cried. Mu Jinbao, Old Lady Mu, and Anai Daza's family showed her the ugliest side of human nature, while the villagers and children of Jinghua village showed her the kindest side of human nature. Just like this world, there is night, and there is also day. Seeing the situation turn against him, Anai Daju quickly took his wife and child and fled in disgrace. Chapter 128 Abused to the point where not even dregs are left. _4. But these little rascals had no intention of letting them go easily, continuing to chase after them with rocks in their hands. Yang Guobao, like a little military strategist, walked up to Gooden. Gooden, it's not wise to chase a desperate enemy. One Gooden, holding the last stone in his hand, aimed at Anai Daza's head, and threw it while yelling, "Bastard! If you dare to bully Sister Anai Yang again, I'll make your head bloom." Anai Daza's head instantly swelled up with a lump. It was thanks to everyone today that Anai Daju and his gang had to sneak away with their tails between their legs. Anai Yang, not an ungrateful person, immediately pulled Anai Tsuehua to express her gratitude. "No need to thank us, you and your daughter are now part of Jinghua village. We actually didn't do much. It was mainly thanks to the children." Upon hearing this, Gooden, Guobao and the other children felt shy. Protecting Sister Anai Yang is our responsibility. We are all Sister Anai Yang's little protectors. Right. We are all little protectors. Slowly, people dispersed, and the children ran off. Anai Yang watched everyone's retreating figures, her eyes full of determination. She is the kind to return even a small favor with great kindness. She would definitely find a way to repay everyone for today's events. One shouldn't be ungrateful in life. Anai Yang turned to Anai Chingue. "Aunt Anai, thank you for today." "Alt, there's no need for thanks." Anai Chingue continued. Yang, Aunt Anai scared you just now, didn't she?" Thinking of her own shrewish behavior earlier, Anai Chingue felt somewhat embarrassed. Anai Chingue used to be truly gentle. In fact, ever since her husband's car accident, she had changed. As the saying goes, a widow's doorstep is much trodden. Without a gritty personality, she couldn't have protected herself. "No, Aunt Anai, you were very brave." Today's Anai Chingue really impressed Anai Yang. Because sometimes, to deal with evil people, you should be like Anai Chingue, fight evil with evil. "Mom, you were great today too." Anai Yang turned and looked at Anai Tsuehua. Anai Tsuehua shyly replied, "Really? Yang? MHM." Anai Yang nodded. Anai Tsuehua continued, "Don't worry, Yang. I'll keep being strong so you don't have to worry." The three members of the Anai Daju family who came to Jinghua village not only didn't benefit, but ended up feeling bitter for having been beaten. Unfortunately, they had no leg to stand on. Although Anai Daju is Anai Quihua's brother, they do not have a blood relationship, and Anai Quihua's household registration has also been transferred out. Their relationship was not legally recognized at all. Moreover, they brought this beating upon themselves. Both Anai Daju and Luwan were fine with just some minor scrapes. Applying some medicine and resting for a few days would do the trick. But Lu Xiangxiang was a different story. Her long hair was full of burdock, and couldn't be removed no matter how hard she tried. Lacking any alternatives, they could only cut her hair short. Lu Xiangxiang had spent 4 whole years growing her beautiful long hair. Losing it in this way would definitely look awful. The crying Lu Xiangxiang was on the verge of fainting, as she pounded and slapped Anai Daju and Lu Wan. "I don't want to cut my hair. One don't want to cut my hair. It's all your fault. If you hadn't gone to find that country bumpkin, would I be in this state?" Lu Wan, heartbroken, soothed her. "Xiangxiang, don't cry. Mom will buy you a beautiful hat. As long as your nourishment is in order, your hair will grow back soon." "I don't want," Anai Daju interjected. "Xiangxiang, don't worry. Dad will definitely avenge you." You dare to speak. Lu Wan slapped Daza's face, angrily berating him. You're the most useless. You couldn't even beat a few kids. If it weren't for you, would Xiang be like this? Why do I have to suffer such misfortune? To be with you, such a jinx. Daju, adding insult to his injuries, took a long while to respond. Wan, listen to me. I really have a way to take down that bitch Yang this time, and make her beg us. Lu Wan frowned slightly. Go on. Daju then whispered a few words into Lu Wan's ear. Lu Wan nodded, finally smiling again. All right, I'll go find Sister Chuanxiang tomorrow. The next day, Lu Wan went to the morning market early. Chapter 129, tortured to the point where not even dregs remain. _5. To avoid the sight of Yang, which gave her an uncomfortable lump in her chest, Lu Wan purposely took a detour to Sun Chengxiang's place. She took out 30 cents. Sister Chuanxiang, I'll have a bowl of noodles, please. While picking up the coins from the table, Sun Chuanxiang feigned reluctance. Xiaolu, we are like real sisters. How can one possibly take money from you? As her words fell, she suddenly looked surprised. Xiaolu, what happened to your face? Did you have a fight with your husband, did you? Lu Wan managed to squeeze a small smile. It's nothing, just hit my face on the door. Oh. Sun Chuanxiang nodded knowingly, her expression filled with implications. Was Lu Wan trying to fool a fool? Could hitting her face make it look like that? She must have certainly behaved outrageously, and that's why Daju punched her. Sun Chuanxiang went to make a bowl of noodles for Lu Wan. While eating, Lu Wan asked, Sister Chuanxiang, which organization did you rent this stall from? Sun Chuanxiang chuckled. Why? Xiaolu, are you thinking of starting a business? Lu Wan responded. I don't have the talent for business. I am just asking for my sister-in-law whose younger sibling doesn't have a job, and she wants to give it a try. Oh. Sun Chuanxiang nodded and told Lu Wan the place where she rented her stall. Immediately after finishing her noodles, Lu Wan rushed to the lease office. When she met the person in charge, she said, Hello, I would like to rent a stall for my business. The woman in charge, a middle-aged lady, replied, I'm sorry, comrade, all our stalls have already been rented out. We have no vacancies. No vacancies left. This is great. Lu Wan then took out a stack of money and eagerly said, One would like to rent the one Yang has at 3 times the price. She was going to make it impossible for Yang to run her business. Yang would come begging to her. 10 times the price. The woman pondered for a moment and checked the lease contract. She saw Yang's contract was about to expire in 2 days, so she said, That stall is currently 25 yuan per month. If you are willing to pay triple the price, it will be 75 yuan per month. And we require a deposit equal to 3 months' rent. So you need to pay an advance of 300 yuan. What's 300 yuan? Yang could earn that in 1 day. Once they rented that stall, Yang would have to pay, not just 300 yuan, but even 3,000 yuan if needed. Upon hearing that, Lu Wan was overjoyed. So you mean you would rent it out to me? The woman continued. One can rent it out, but only from the beginning of next month. This month's contract hadn't expired yet. Lu Wan laughed and said, That's fine, let's sign the contract now. Let Yang enjoy herself for only 2 more days, as it was almost next month anyway. Lu Wan handed over all her savings, 300 yuan, to cover the fee for renting the stall. On the way home, Lu Wan felt like she was walking on air. She could already picture all the money waving at her. The instant she arrived home, her husband Daju anxiously asked, How did it go? Did you get it done? Done. It's done. Lu Wan nodded eagerly. Lu Xiangxiang walked over and asked, Mom, Dad, can you avenge me now? Yes. Lu Xiangxiang went on. Then I will cut Yang's hair off completely. I want her to kneel and apologize to me. Every time she thought of her beautiful long hair, Lu Xiangxiang wished she could bite Yang to death. Lu Wan laughed. Just wait, in 2 days, Yang will be begging us. Then we will show her how it feels. The money had been paid, the contract had been signed, and now the stall was theirs. If Yang wanted to do business, she had to beg them. Lu Xiangxiang asked next, Can I still go there to collect money? Yes, of course. Lu Wan boasted. All the money that wicked girl makes will be yours. While Ni Daz's family was dreaming of getting rich, Ni Yang went to the tram station after closing her stall for the day. At the station, Ni Tsuehua was already there with her child, waiting expectantly. Yang over here. Ni Yang parked her bicycle beside Ni Tsuehua. Mom, get on. I'm taking you to see our shop. Okay. Ni Tsuehua got on, holding her child, with a smile that never left her face. This was probably the most joyful day Ni Tsuehua had had in a long time. Chapter 130 Abused to the point where not even dregs are left. _6. Unlike her first time in the streets, Ni Quihua's mental state had undergone significant changes. Her transformation involved not just her clothes, but also her manners and deportitude. If not told otherwise, no one would have guessed that just over 3 months ago, she was an illiterate rural woman. The location where Ni Yang bought her shop was excellent, located in a bustling urban area, surrounded by schools, libraries, and a community. For a moment, Ni Yang seemed to glimpse through the present and into the future's prosperity. Although her current shop only cost her 25,100 yuan, in 2 to 3 years, its price would definitely shoot up by 10, 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 times more. Therefore, she had to take advantage of the present, when housing prices have yet to rise, and buy several more properties to keep. If one day she doesn't want to do business anymore, she can just sit at home and collect rent. By then, she'd probably tire out from collecting all the rent. Ni Yang took out the key and opened the door to the shop. Inside the shop was bare, without any decorations. It was over 50 square meters, excluding the kitchen and bathroom. Ni Yang roughly calculated and noted that if she put normal 2-person tables inside, she could fit at least 20. Ni Tsuehua, holding her child, stood in the middle of the shop and incredulously said, Yang, is this shop really ours now? The echo of her voice bounced around the empty shop. Ni Yang nodded. Of course it's ours. Look, this is the property deed. Ni Tsuehua took the deed, her excited eyes reddening. She was not dreaming. She really wasn't dreaming. Don't cry, Mom. Ni Yang reached out to wipe the tear stains on Ni Quihua's face. Our good days are just beginning. Ni Yang's career was also just starting. The bright future was still ahead. Ni Tsuehua nodded. To celebrate the purchase of the shop, Ni Yang took Ni Tsuehua to the vegetable market to buy more ingredients for a delicious dinner. The Mediterranean vendor who sold beef and lamb already recognized Ni Yang. Xiaoni, what would you like today? Ni Yang smiled and said, the usual. All right then. The Mediterranean vendor quickly weighed the meat, then asked, Xiaoni, is this woman your mother? Yes. Ni Yang nodded. The Mediterranean vendor was inwardly amazed. No wonder Ni Yang was so beautiful. Her mother wasn't an ordinary person. From her clothes and demeanor, she was definitely from a well-educated background. As it was now autumn, Ni Yang decided to take Ni Tsuehua to the mall after leaving the vegetable market, planning to buy some clothes for autumn and winter. Unlike their first trip, because both mother and daughter were now impeccably dressed, the salespeople were much more enthusiastic and flocked around them. Again, this made Ni Tsuehua realize the importance of money and status. Yang, hold your sister for a moment. I need to use the restroom. Ni Tsuehua handed the child to Ni Yang. Ni Yang smiled and said, Mom, let me accompany you. Ni Tsuehua declined. No need, I'm not a child. I can go on my own. She was no longer the timid, illiterate, and weak Ni Tsuehua from before. Knowing that her mother's transformation over this period of time was quite apparent, Ni Yang wasn't worried. Then go ahead, I'll wait for you here. Cough, cough, cough. Just as she came out of the restroom, Ni Tsuehua heard a severe coughing sound. Ni Tsuehua looked to the side and saw an elderly woman crouched by a trash can, coughing painfully. The old woman was coughing so hard her eyes turned red, her face pale, looking like she could faint at any moment. Madam, are you all right? Ni Tsuehua, who had never experienced maternal love as a child, couldn't bear to see the elderly woman alone and in distress, so she asked. Between coughs, the old woman said, I'm fine. She didn't know what was wrong. Despite taking medication, Her coughing had only worsened recently. Enai Tsuehua helped the old woman up. "Let me help you sit over there for a bit?" "Thank you, young lady." As the elderly woman turned to look at Enai Tsuehua, her pupils constricted, her grip on Enai Quihua's hand unconsciously tightened significantly. Was she seeing things? "Child," suppressing her cough, the old woman asked with a trembling voice, "where are you from?" Enai Tsuehua smiled and said, "My family is from Yanjing City." Yanjing. Yanjing and Guangguan are thousands of kilometers apart. Chapter 131 Abused to the point where not even dregs are left. _J She was mistaken. She made another mistake. A hint of disappointment gleamed in the old lattice eyes. She asked, "Are there any people left in your mother's family?" Enai Tsuehua responded, "My parents died early. I don't have much family left now." Enai Tsuehua didn't even know this old lady. She couldn't possibly reveal her entire background to her. Besides, her foster parents had died early, so this statement was not wrong. What a pitiful child. The old lady gently patted Enai Quihua's hand. Just then a mother and a daughter raced over from the distance. "Mom!" "Grandma!" It wasn't any other people, it was truly Zheng Lingling and Zheng Xianjing, mother and daughter. Seeing that the old lattice family had arrived, Enai Tsuehua quietly excused herself. Enai Yang was waiting for her elsewhere. "Lingling, Xianjing." Old Lady Zheng smiled at Lingling and Xianjing. The mother and daughter immediately grasped Old Lady Zheng's arms. Old Lady Zheng chuckled. "Lingling, let me tell you, I just saw a young person who looks so much like Tingting." Damn old lady, even at this late hour, she still remembered that Zheng Tingting. A flash of resentment crossed Zheng Lingling's gaze, but on her face she smiled. "Really? Mom, where is that person who looks like sister? Let me see if it is Tingting." Old Lady Zheng turned back and looked around to see, puzzled. Wasn't she still here just now? How did she disappear in a blink of an eye? Zheng Lingling gave Xianjing a signal with her eyes. Zheng Xianjing immediately said, "Grandma, let me help you look for her." Old Lady Zheng laughed. "No need to. She is probably not my Tingting." So many years had passed. After experiencing countless dashes of hope followed by despair, Old Lady Zheng had grown numb. Seeing Old Lady Zheng's emotion, Zheng Lingling immediately switched the topic. "Mom, is your cough getting any better? Should we head back home early?" After roaming around in the mall and stirring up painful memories for Old Lady Zheng, she didn't want to continue shopping any longer. She nodded. "Let's go home." Zheng Lingling and Xianjing exchanged a look, then helped Old Lady Zheng walk towards the exit. Enai Yang was standing there, holding her younger sister. Little Enai Yin giggled heartily in her arms. The unrestrained laughter of the child, pure and innocent, attracted the attention of others in the mall. As Mo Baichuan turned around, he saw Enai Yang. Why was she everywhere he looked? Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Without a second thought, he knew this must be intentional on her part. Did she really think that owning a stunning face was enough to win his affections? How ridiculous. Seeing Mo Baichuan's distraction, the man in the suit next to him couldn't help but remind him, Mr. Mo. Only then did Mo Baichuan come back to his senses. He gave a light cough to mask his embarrassment. "Where were we at in our conversation? Let's continue." The man in the suit continued his chatter. They continued talking and walking. Mo Baichuan tried his best to move towards Enai Yang, because he was eager for Enai Yang to approach him. Wasn't Enai Yang's purpose of this trip to initiate a conversation with him? But Enai Yang completely ignored him as if he was invisible and continued to play with her little sister in her arms. What was going on? Could it be that she didn't notice him? Mo Baichuan unconsciously raised the volume of his voice. Finally, Enai Yang turned her gaze towards him. Those eyes like the stars in the sky, and a faint smile on her lips. She indeed had a face that could entrance one's heart. Mo Baichuan's heart started throbbing uncontrollably for several beats. And not only did Enai Yang cast a glance towards him this time, but she also walked towards him, with the child in her arms. He knew. It must be that Enai Yang was coming for him. So calculating. As Enai Yang's distance from him grew shorter, Mo Baichuan's heartbeat began to quicken. He's been mentally preparing himself to reject Enai Yang and extinguish her hopes once and for all. But then, the very next second, just as Mo Baichuan was about to reject her, Anai Yang's gaze skipped right over him and she headed past him. Anai Yang left. Anai Yang actually completely ignored him and walked away. Although Mo Baichuan was unwilling to believe the scene before his eyes, Anai Yang truly did not spare him an extra look, didn't even bestow a glance from the corner of her eye. Mom, let's check that area out. I see some clothes over there that would suit you nicely. Anai Yang walked up to Anai Tsuehua, holding her little sister. Anai Tsuehua smiled and nodded. Okay. The mother and daughter, chatting gaily, detoured towards the other side. Mo Baichuan was so angry he almost exploded. Why didn't Anai Yang approach him? Could it be she did not come for him after all? What exactly was going on here? In fact, Anai Yang didn't see Mo Baichuan at all, because she never wasted her time on insignificant individuals. The man in the suit looked in the direction that Mo Baichuan had been staring at. Mr. Mo, do you know them? I don't know them. Mo Baichuan grumbled 3 words, feeling as uncomfortable as if he had swallowed a fly. His mind was filled with questions about why Anai Yang didn't approach him. Was it a new tactic or something? Anai Yang led Anai Tsuehua to the other side of the scene, finally bought the clothes and shoes they desired. It was a fruitful journey. It was already past 4 in the afternoon when they got home. As soon as Anai Yang sat down on the chair, she saw Yang Guobao, his cousins, and Gooden had arrived. Guobao, Gooden, Xiaoqin, Yuanji. Anai Yang immediately began distributing the snacks she bought from the street market. There were the big white rabbit milk candies and bear cookies. Anai Yang had never been stingy when it came to these children. Thank you, Sister Anai Yang. The 4 of them thanked politely. Anai Yang smiled. There's no need to act so ceremonious with your sister. Guobao munching joyfully. By the way, Sister Anai Yang, I have something I want to tell you. Anai Yang nodded. Go on. Guobao's spirits suddenly dropped. Sister Anai Yang, my mom wants to bring me home tomorrow. Chapter 132 Winning Hearts. Guobao returns home _1 Yes. Young Guobao is going home. After 3 months of treatment and recuperation, he is completely cured. Anai Yang gently touched young Guobao's head with a smile. 3 months have passed. It's time to go home and see your grandparents and father. Young Guobao hugged Anai Yang, choking up. Who? Sister Anai Yang, I'm gonna miss you. Silly Guobao. Anai Yang laughed. We will see each other again. We will have many chances to meet in the future. Gooden scorned. Guobao, are you a man or not? Like us men of the Go generation, we don't cry. Guobao. The Go generation? When did young Guobao become Guobao of the Go generation? I wonder if these kids will acknowledge these nicknames when they grow up. Anai Yang couldn't help but laugh. Young Guobao immediately straightened up, wiping the tears from his face. Yes. We men of the Go generation don't cry. Anai Yang nodded. Yes, that's more like a little man. Gooden immediately objected. Sister Anai Yang is wrong. We are clearly grown men. Young Guobao, still with tears on his face, echoed. We are grown men. They are all grown men who can protect Sister Anai Yang. After comforting him for a while, young Guobao finally began to smile. Anai Yang, remembering the food she had bought today, continued. You 4 go and call over all the other kids. Tonight we'll have dinner at Sister Anai Yang's place as a farewell meal for Guobao. Yeah. Gooden jumped up excitedly. Then let's go call everyone else now. Anai Yang nodded. Go ahead. Young Guobao, Gooden, Wang Xiaoqin, and Wang Yuanji ran off in a flash. Upon hearing that guests were coming for dinner, Anai Tsuehua immediately came over to ask Anai Yang what they would be eating tonight, so she could start washing the vegetables. Anai Yang thought for a moment and then said, Tonight we're having hot pot. Mom, wash some more meat, and a bit extra fish and shrimp. I'm going to visit Aunt Jo's place. I'll start cooking when I come back. All right. Anai Tsuehua nodded. You better go quickly. After taking some money from her room, Anai Yang started walking towards Zhou Qingsheng's residence. Along the way, villagers kept greeting Anai Yang. Liking and disliking are mutual feelings. Wang Jinfang, a woman who begrudges others their success, greeted Anai Yang with a smiling face. But as soon as Anai Yang turned her back, Wang started spewing sarcasm. This little girl doesn't learn good habits at such a young age, and does all kinds of shameless things. Dressed so extravagantly, I wonder who she's going to seduce now. Mom, Peng Hu rushed in from another direction, looked at Wang Jinfang angrily. You're not allowed to talk about sister and I Yang like that. Wang Jinfang looked down at Peng Hu and said menacingly, You little brat, know your place. Mind your own business. Peng Hu sat on the ground, crying and making a fuss. Sister and I Yang is not like that. Sister and I Yang isn't. Peng Hu is the only male heir in 3 generations of the Ni family. Wang Jinfang gave birth to 3 daughters before she finally had this precious son. Seeing Peng Hu sitting on the ground and crying, she was heartbroken. Oh, my precious baby. Get up, no more crying. I won't get up. Peng Hu sobbed. Sister and I Yang is not like that. What Wang Jinfang saw made her grimace, but seeing her son like this, she just indulged him. Sure. Your sister and I Yang is not like that. Mom was just joking. Peng's crying gradually subsided. He looked at Wang Jinfang and said, Mom, promise me that you will never badmouth sister and I Yang again. Wang Jinfang continued, Mom promises not to speak ill of your sister and I Yang again. Although she said that, Wang Jinfang was still dubious about Ni Yang. A young girl, who was dressed in rags when she first moved to Jinghua village, is now all of a sudden dressed so well. Very suspicious indeed. Wang Jinfang absolutely did not believe that Ni Yang wasn't engaged in some sort of shady business. Otherwise, where did all the money come from so quickly? Mom, swear, Peng Hu sobbed. If you talk bad about sister and I Yang again when I have a son, he won't have a butthole. People in this era are superstitious. Wang Jinfang was scared silly when she heard this, immediately saying, Spit. There's no harm in a child's words. Nobody curses themselves like that. Chapter 133 Winning Hearts. Guobao returns home _2. Peng Hu said earnestly, Words from the mouth of babes must not be taken lightly. Mom, hurry up and swear, otherwise, my future offspring will come into the world without an anus. Though Peng Hu was only 8 years old, he was shrewd. He knew that Wang Jinfang had a soft spot for him. If he was to stake his future children on this bet, surely she wouldn't ever sling mud at Ni Yang again. Wang Jinfang was almost done in by her son's buffoonery. Being the clever woman she was, how could she have ended up with such a simple-minded son? With no other options, Wang Jinfang begrudgingly made the oath. Only then did Peng Hu break out into an elated smile. Mom, the teacher says those who can acknowledge and correct their wrongs are good children. Wang Jinfang. Just then Guden and Yang Guobao led a group of children running over calling, Peng Hu, Peng Hu. Peng Hu instantly waved his hands and ran over. Coming. After a quick huddle, Peng Hu yelled out to Wang Jinfang, Mom, I won't be home for dinner tonight. Wang Jinfang called out, If you're not coming home, where will you eat? Peng Hu replied, Sister and I Yang is treating us tonight. Sister and I Yang treating them? Was Ni Yang treating these children to a dirt buffet? Although that's what Wang Jinfang thought, she didn't voice it. She just replied, Be sure to come home early. Got it. By the time Wang Jinfang looked up again, Peng Hu and the others had already disappeared in the distance. Hoisting the hoe onto her shoulder, Wang Jinfang headed home. Ni Yang arrived at Zhou Qingsheng's house. Madam Wang. Ni Yang knocked on the door and raised her voice. Is anyone home? Recognizing the voice, Zhou Qingsheng immediately ran out from the kitchen. It's Yang, come in and have a seat. Ever since Ni Yang cured Zhou Qingsheng's cough and cold with a stick of buplurum, Zhou Qingsheng had taken a liking to the beautiful young girl. If it were anyone else, even if she were coughing her lungs out, they probably wouldn't bother. But Ni Yang, even though they were strangers at the time, was incredibly helpful. Madam Wang, is Uncle Tinio home? Asked Ni Yang. Zhou Qingsheng's husband, Wang Tinio, lived up to his name, being as sturdy as an ox. He learned to be a bricklayer in his younger years. He knew how to renovate and build houses. If there was work to be done, he'd be out there building houses for people. If not, he'd be at home working the farm. Because of his hard work, their family lived a decent life. Ni Yang's main purpose for this visit was to offer the job of renovating the store to Wang Tinio. Originally, Anai Yang could have handed the task over to a construction team in town, but she wanted to take this opportunity to show her gratitude to the villagers. Zhou Qingshang replied, "Your uncle Tiniu is outside, I'll call him for you." Anai Yang nodded. "Thank you, Madam Zhou." Zhou Qingshang laughed. "Oh, it's no trouble at all. Yang, come in and take a seat. I'll be right back." Even though she didn't know why Anai Yang wanted to see Wang Tiniu, Zhou Qingshang still went out enthusiastically to call him. Before long, Zhou Qingshang returned with Wang Tiniu. Despite his rough appearance, Wang Tiniu was a very kind-hearted man. Yang, why are you standing there for? Gomen, come in." "Uncle Tiniu." Anai Yang followed Wang Tiniu indoors. "Wifey, hurry up and make some tea," Wang Tiniu then instructed. Anai Yang laughed. "Uncle Tiniu, you don't need to fuss over me. One will leave in a moment." Before Anai Yang finished speaking, Zhou Qingshang had already prepared the tea. "Thank you, Madam Wang," Anai Yang said, as she politely took the teacup with both hands. "No need to be so polite with me." After taking a sip of tea, Anai Yang proceeded to discuss business with Wang Tiniu. "Uncle Tiniu, my shop is about 50 square meters. Adding the kitchen and bathroom would make it about 65 square meters. Please bring 10 laborers from the village." Anai Yang did the math and concluded that excluding the elderly and children there were roughly 10 laborers in Jinghua village. Besides the heavy work, the job at the construction site didn't require much skill. It just needed some good old-fashioned hard labor. Wang Tiniu listened, bewildered, and struggled to believe what he heard. Yang, are you pulling my leg? You genuinely have a shop and you want me to renovate it?" After all, Anai Yang was just a teenage girl. It was only natural for Wang Tiniu to be skeptical. Anticipating Wang Tiniu's disbelief, Anai Yang took out the bundle of cash she had prepared earlier. "Uncle Tiniu, I'll pay you in advance. It's 3 yuan per day for skilled workers, and 2 yuan per day for laborers." Chapter 133 Winning Hearts. Guobao returns home _3. 3 yuan for skilled labor? 2 yuan for unskilled labor? Wang Tiniu's eyes widened in surprise. The average worker's salary was only 40 yuan a month at this point in time. Normally when he built houses for others, he only charged 1 yuan per day for skilled labor, and 85 cents for unskilled labor. At Anai Yang's it was several times more. Of course, Wang Tiniu was not the type to take advantage of others. Moreover, as Anai Yang was just a young girl, he certainly couldn't take advantage of her. Yang, you don't need to pay this much. Just give the market rate. 1 yuan for skilled labor and 85 cents for unskilled labor, he said. Anai Yang smiled and said, "No changes needed, but Uncle Tiniu, I have a request." "Go on." Anai Yang continued, "I hope all the renovation work can be done within a month." Wang Tiniu assured, "Don't worry about it, there are so many of us. In fact, we can even get it done in half a month." It was only a 50 square meter shop, and there were 12 workers in total. As the saying goes, many hands make light work. Wang Taizhu was not boasting. So Anai Yang's request wasn't really a burden. "There's no need to rush," Anai Yang continued. "As long as it's completed within a month. I plan to open for business on the 2nd of next month." Wang Tiniu nodded. All right, don't worry." Anai Yang added, "Uncle Tiniu, do you know who in our village is the best at cooking?" As a manly man, Wang Tiniu had no idea. Zhou Qingshang laughed and said, "I know. Aunt Wang Jinfang makes amazing meals." Despite her differences with Aunt Jinfang, Zhou Qingshang spoke the truth. Aunt Jinfang indeed was a great cook. Anai Yang nodded and then said, "Let's get Aunt Jinfang too. Have her cook lunch at the construction site, and she will get the wages of an unskilled worker." Wang Tiniu felt a bit uncomfortable. Yang, your wages are already high enough, there's no need to provide lunch." Anai Yang laughed and said, "Uncle Tiniu, you're all working hard and I can't let you go hungry. That's settled then. I'm putting my trust on you, Uncle Tiniu. Once you've made arrangements, meet me at the tram station in the city around noon tomorrow, or the day after. I'll take you to the shop. Now I'll be going." Zhou Qingshang and Wang Taizhu hurried to see Anai Yang off. Having seen off Anai Yang, Wang Taizhu returned to his house, still in a daze. He asked Zhou Qingshang, "Wife, pinch me." Am I dreaming? Zhou Qingshang laughed and said, look at how delighted you are. You're not dreaming. Wang Tiniu sighed. Yang is the god of wealth in our village. Zhou Qingshang echoed. I knew early on that Yang would amount to something. Wang Tiniu counted the money Yang left on the table. It totaled 930 yuan. 180 yuan for 2 skilled laborers. 600 yuan for 10 unskilled laborers. And 60 yuan for a cook. It must be said, Yang had made some really sound and trusting arrangements. Since Yang trusted him so much, he must live up to her trust. Wang Tiniu extracted his 90 yuan and handed it to Zhou Qingshang. You keep this. I'm off to find the others. Zhou Qingshang accepted the money, still somewhat dazed. In the past, Wang Tiniu had to labor for 3 months to earn just 90 yuan. Worst of all, finding consistent work for 3 consecutive months was not guaranteed. The most had ever brought back seemed to be just over 40 yuan. All of these changes stirred deep feelings of gratitude in Zhou Qingshang. With the money in hand, Wang Tiniu went door to door. After explaining the situation, the villagers were overjoyed and grinning ear to ear as they received the money. Given that it was the idle farming period, a sudden opportunity to work, especially with an immediate payment that was multitudes higher than the market rates, had them naturally elated. 60 yuan. A season of hard farming couldn't earn them that much. Yang really was their village's lucky star. The last stop was Wang Jinfang's house. When he arrived, Wang Jinfang was feeding the chickens. Her husband Fatsai, who couldn't do heavy work due to an early injury, was cooking in the kitchen. Seeing Wang Tiniu, Wang Jinfang warmly asked, Brother Tiniu, what brings you here? Chapter 134 Winning Hearts, Guobao returns home _4. Despite Wang Jinfang's usually picky and stingy demeanor, she remained quite warm when dealing with acquaintances. Besides, she and Wang Tiniu were relatives. Wang Tiniu explained the situation with a smile. Shocked, Wang Jinfang asked, Brother Tiniu, are you joking or being serious? Don't tease me. As Fatsai was in poor health, Wang Jinfang was having a hard time making ends meet. So the news of getting 60 yuan got her extremely excited. With that 60 yuan, their family could feast for the coming new year. However, she had spoken badly of Yang behind her back. Would Yang really ask her for help? She found it somewhat hard to believe. Wang Tiniu smiled and said, Would I lie? Do you think I've nothing better to do? Here is your wage. If you're free, join us in the city tomorrow at noon. Great. I'll be there. Wang Jinfang graciously took the money and thanked Tiniu profusely. Wang Tiniu continued, You don't need to thank me. If anyone, thank Yang. Wang Jinfang laughed, her eyes nearly disappearing from her joyous face. Right, I should thank Yang. Thank Yang. She had acted foolishly by misunderstanding Yang. Lucky for her, Yang was forgiving and didn't hold her past actions against her. Right now, apart from being grateful, Wang Jinfang deeply appreciated Yang. Thinking about the harsh words she had spoken about Yang before, she really regretted it. Teach her to talk behind others' backs. Teach her to be mean to others. If anyone dared to badmouth Yang in the future, Wang Jinfang swore she'd give them a slap. When Yang returned, Suehua had washed and prepared all the vegetables. The fish and shrimp meat were finely chopped too. The beef bones were stewing in the pot, and the air was filled with their tempting aroma. Yang rolled up her sleeves and began to prepare the hot pot base. Everyone in Jinghua village, from the elderly to toddlers as young as 3 years old, loved spicy food, so she didn't need to worry about making a mild hot pot for the children. However, she still prepared a non-spicy base, just in case any children couldn't handle the heat. The copper pot for the hot pot was layered, ideal for a double flavor, hot pot. After preparing the hot pot base, Yang started making fish balls and shrimp slides. Having done it successfully once before, she made quicker progress this time. Fish balls and shrimp slides were not only a treat for the taste buds, but they also had high nutritional value and low cost, so Yang made extra. The rest was the handling of beef and lamb. After prepping the hot pot ingredients, Yang cooked 3 side dishes that were good for skin health and beauty. Additionally, She also prepared a big jar of chilled sour plum soup. The combination of piping hot pot and iced sour plum soup was simply perfect. Once all the dishes were on the table, Gooden and Yang Guobao brought all the children to the table. There were 15 children of different ages, the oldest being 13 and the youngest around 5 or 6 years old. Seeing so many children, Anai Yun laughed with joy. Little Anai Yun was fair and chubby, which attracted the kids' attention, and they all gathered around to play with her. After a short while, Anai Chingue returned from work. At first, she was stunned to see the house filled with people, then laughed and said, "Anai Yang, are you throwing a party at home again?" Anai Yang replied, "Guobao is leaving tomorrow, we're having a farewell party. Auntie Anai, go wash your hands, and we can start eating." Anai Chingue immediately went to wash her hands. The children were well behaved and took their seats around the table. The spicy red oil base, the fragrant white soup base, the boiling base teased their taste buds with its inviting aroma, and without even starting to cook the food in it, everyone already started salivating. Anai Chingue walked in from the outside after washing her hands, and said with a smile, "Enjoy your meal, don't wait for me." Anai Yang distributed small plates of oil dipping sauce to each child and said, "Make yourselves at home. Here, at Sister Anai Yang's, you can eat as much as you like." Everyone immediately dug in. Soon after, the air was filled with delightful exclamations. "This is delicious. Sister Anai Yang is so talented." Peng Hu took a bite of the shrimp slide, turned to Anai Yang and said unclearly, "Sister Anai Yang, you're awesome. Your cooking is way better than my mom's." It's even better than my mom's cooking. Chapter 135 Winning Hearts, Guobao returns home _5. The boiling hot red chili oil in the pot accentuated the satisfied faces of the children. Observing this was enough for Anai Yang to feel satisfied, even if she herself didn't eat anything. Anai Yang prepared many dishes that day, all of which were devoured completely. An hour later, the children all lied in their chairs, their bellies round and full, unwilling to move an inch. They had absolutely relished their meal. Even during the new year, they had never enjoyed a meal this much. Anai Yang prepared some lotus leaf cold tea for everyone to share. Sometimes, when children eat too much, it easily leads to indigestion. Lotus leaf tea has the effect of clearing heat, removing dampness, dispersing blood stasis, and improving digestion. After dinner, it was past 6 in the evening, and it wasn't completely dark yet. After thanking Anai Yang, children took advantage of the remaining daylight and headed home. As soon as Peng Hu arrived home, Wang Jinfeng picked him up. "Son, what delicious food did Sister Anai Yang cook for you tonight?" Peng Hu was slightly taken aback. Since when was his mother so courteous to Sister Anai Yang? Could it be that his threat in the afternoon had worked? After all, she didn't want her grandson to be born without an anus. Yes, that must be it. Peng Hu laughed and said, "Sister Anai Yang made hot pot tonight. I ate so much meat. Mom, look how full my belly is." As he said this, he lifted his shirt to show his belly to Wang Jinfeng. So they were having hot pot. No wonder it smelled so good. Anai Yang must indeed be a talented cook, otherwise, how could she manage a restaurant in the city? She used to judge others by herself, even thinking ill of Anai Yang. Whenever Wang Jinfeng thought about this, she was overwhelmed with regret. Seeing Wang Jinfeng lost in thought, Peng Hu continued, Mom, look at my belly. One tell you, Sister Anai Yang's food is even tastier than yours." Wang Jinfeng finally reacted, showering Peng's face with kisses. "My son is wonderful." Peng Hu was dumbfounded at being praised. Had he done something praiseworthy? A moment later, Wang Jinfeng put Peng Hu down and brought out eggs and pomegranates that had been stored at home for a long time. "Peng Hu, tomorrow you take these things to Sister Anai Yang. Make sure she accepts them, okay?" Although Wang Jinfeng can be a bit tricky, she reciprocates kindness with kindness. At this point, she already considered Anai Yang as one of her own. Peng Hu incredulously asked, "Mom, is this really for Sister Anai Yang?" He knew his mother to be stingy. The eggs she had saved were supposed to be sold. She would usually not even spare one for her precious son to eat. Yet, now she planned to give this whole basket of eggs to Anai Yang. Additionally, there were 2 large red pomegranates. These pomegranates were given stealthily by his grandmother during the last visit. She had given only 3. Peng Hu had eaten 1, and the remaining 2 were hidden away by Wang Jinfang, to be eaten gradually. It was too incredible to be true. When had Wang Jinfang become so generous? Seeing Peng's reaction, Wang Jinfang asked with a smile, "What, you don't want to give these to Sister and I Yang?" Peng Hu immediately shook his head. "Not at all. I want to give them to Sister and I Yang." Afraid Wang Jinfang would change her mind, he grabbed the basket and said, "I'll take them to Sister and I Yang right now." Wang Jinfang held Peng's hand. "It's dark now and unsafe. Go in the daylight tomorrow." "Don't worry, I will stand by my word and won't retract it." "Mom, are you serious?" Peng Hu asked suspiciously. "Of course I am." Wang Jinfang nodded affirmatively. Still doubtful of Wang Jinfang, Peng Hu held out his little finger with a solemn oath. "Then let's make a pinky promise. If you break your word, my son will be born without an anus." Wang Jinfang laughed and lightly swatted Peng's head. "You little rascal. Always threatening your mom with that line." Immediately, Peng Hu said earnestly, "Mom, make a promise." "Promise." Wang Jinfang extended her hand to make a pinky swear with him. In Yang's place, Yang is busy preparing pickled fish noodles and dinner for Grandma Mo. As tomorrow marks the last day of her noodle stall, Yang is preparing over 800 servings of pickled vegetable noodles, 100 more than usual. She also prepared lots of small cards, which she had started preparing a couple of months ago. Since she has decided to move her noodle stall, she needs to lay out her plans in advance. Word of mouth is crucial amongst regular customers, otherwise, she would have to start building clientele from scratch. Chapter 136 Winning Hearts, Guobao returns home _6. These cards, in addition to offering discounts, also have the new shop's address written on them. All 500 cards were handwritten by Yang, whose handwriting is very beautiful, so it looks like printed text. Today, Yang prepared red bean cakes, pickled vegetable noodles, and steamed shrimp dumplings for breakfast for Mrs. Mo. Since the old lady hasn't had pickled vegetables for a long time, Yang thought of giving her a different taste. No need to mention the taste of the shrimp dumplings. Moreover, shrimp meat is rich in nutrients and can supply calcium. Red beans have the functions of moistening the intestines and relieving constipation, lowering blood pressure, reducing blood lipids, regulating blood sugar, detoxifying, preventing cancer, and preventing stones. It's a very good ingredient for the elderly. The combination of red beans and glutinous rice is irresistible. It tastes sticky, sweet but not greasy, refreshing and easy to digest, making you want to take another bite after tasting the first. After finalizing the menu, Yang began preparing the ingredients. The next day, Yang set up her noodle stall on the snack street as usual. When she told everyone that she would no longer be selling noodles the next morning, a look of disappointment appeared on everyone's faces. "Boss, why are you not selling these delicious noodles anymore?" "My son is a picky eater. Without these pickled vegetable noodles he wouldn't eat." "Boss, will you still sell in the future? Or just not coming tomorrow morning?" Yang smiled and said, "Rest assured everyone, I'm not stopping sales, but I will reopen a month later. The new shop address is across from the Wuhua Library. You all are regular customers. I'll give each of you a card. There's a discount of 5 cents a bowl on the opening day. Plus, you get a cup of sour plum soup." A discount of 5 cents and a free sour plum soup? The discount is actually so huge. Upon hearing this news, the crowd exploded. "I want one." "Me too." Yang smiled and said, "Everyone, don't worry, we have 500 cards. Everyone present will get one." Upon hearing this, the crowd calmed down and began to line up in order. However, the customers who received cards later naturally ran out. Customers who didn't receive a card all sighed with regret. Then Yang continued, "Don't worry if you didn't get a card. Anyone who eats noodles on the opening day can get a free cup of sour plum soup. A cup of sour plum soup also costs a cent." Upon hearing this, everyone's mood improved a lot. Although Yang prepared more than 800 soup noodles today, they sold out before 11 o'clock as usual. After all, she came early. The first bowl had been sold at 5:30. When Li Gongqing came, Yang told him that she would not be selling here tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Li Gongqing was surprised. What about the old lattice meals? And what about him? He had now gotten used to days with pickled fish noodles. He felt anxious whenever he couldn't eat them. Yang continued. I will prepare the old lattice meals every morning, ask the renovation workers to bring them over, and then you can trouble to pick them up. It's not a hassle, Li Gongqing scratched his head. Xiaoni, are you sure your new shop will not be open until the 2nd of next month? Can't it be earlier? Yang shook her head. It may not be possible, there need to be renovations, purchasing tables and chairs, etc. Li Gongqing sighed in disappointment. What should he do? Yang smiled and said, if you like pickled fish noodles, I can cook a portion for you every morning and keep it in the thermos. When you pick up the elderly woman's meals, you can pick it up at the same time. Upon hearing this, Li Gongqing's eyes lit up. Great, great. Xiaoni, you are really smart. With that, Li Gongqing took out a yuan note and handed it to Yang. Then he'll pay for a month's noodles in advance. Yang reached out her hand to receive it, and gave Li Gongqing a yuan as change. After packing up her stall, Yang first sent the tables and chairs to the shop, then rode her bicycle to the tram station. When Yang arrived, Wang Tiniu, Wang Jinfang, and the other villagers of Jinghua village had also just arrived. Uncle Tiniu, Aunt Jinfang, and uncles hello. Yang greeted them politely. Everyone responded warmly. When Wang Jinfang saw Yang, she felt a little embarrassed. She had assumed that Yang would have at least said a few sarcastic remarks about her since she had spoken many ill words about Yang before. However, Yang was courteous from beginning to end, and didn't put on any airs. For a moment, Wang Jinfang's impression of Yang improved even more. Chapter 137 Winning Hearts. Guobao returns home 7. Yin took them to the shop, then went to the vegetable market to buy some vegetables for Wang Jinfang. The vegetables were from her own home, but the tofu and pork were bought from the market. Aihe's people all did manual work. How could they not eat meat? Although there wasn't much meat, just a bit over 2 pounds, it was enough to satisfy everyone's craving. After all, at this time, they could only eat a few pieces of meat during the new year. Wang Jinfang's cooking skills were excellent, and in no time, the smell of fried meat filled the whole house. Smelling the fragrance of the meat and thinking about the wages given by Yin, everyone was instantly filled with energy. After Wang Jinfang finished cooking, there was not much work in the afternoon. Although Yin only asked her to cook, she didn't leave early. Instead, she helped everyone with tools and carried buckets of mud, doing some laborer's work. After all, Yin paid her 2 yuan a day. Plus she ate meat at noon. She had to earn her money and the meat she ate at noon. Wang Jinfang couldn't be a person with no conscience. After leaving the shop, Yin did not go home, but rode her bike to the local bureau to apply for a business license. In addition to the business license, she also had to apply for a health permit and a food circulation permit. After all, she wanted to be a qualified individual operator. The efficiency of the bureau was very high, and Yin completed all the certificates by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After the certificate, Yin went to the vegetable market again. Since she didn't need to set up a stall to sell noodles tomorrow, she didn't buy fish, but bought a little less than 200 pounds of greens. After all, once the shop opens, the daily sales volume will be higher than when she set up the stall, so she needs to prepare pickles. She can't run out of stock. The vegetable vendor recognized Yin and not only gave her a discount of 5 cents, but also gave her a pound of peas. Because it was not the right season, so peas were very scarce and expensive at this time. It can be seen that the vegetable vendor had a long-term vision. He knew that Yin was a potential customer. After buying vegetables, Yin happened to pass by Li Dongliang's small shop. Qian Jinfeng had been standing at the door waiting for Yin all morning. When she saw Yin, her eyes lit up. Yang, over here. Yin slowly stopped the car. Aunt Qian. Qian Jinfeng smiled and said, Yang, why did you finish the stall so late today? Yin said, I went to the vegetable market. Qian Jinfeng nodded then said, Yang, didn't we talk about raising the rent a few days ago? I originally told you it was 2 yuan a month, but after thinking about it, I felt that 2 yuan was a bit too little. After all, you make that much money in a day, you can't let me watch you eat meat, right? After all, if you didn't have my shop to store your things, you wouldn't be able to earn as much money. Qian Jinfeng talked a lot. The point was that Yin was able to earn money because of their house. Yin smiled faintly, directly interrupted Qian Jinfeng. So, what are you implying, Auntie? Qian Jinfeng licked her lips. What I mean is, I want to raise the rent to 300. After thinking about it for a while, Qian Jinfeng decided that at least 300 yuan in rent was most appropriate. After all, Yin could earn 300 a day. 300 yuan was nothing to Yin. 300, huh? Yin asked with a smile. Yes. Qian Jinfeng nodded eagerly. Yin is still looking cheerful, her attractive peach blossom eyes shining like stars, and the corner of her mouth curled up in a light smile. But the words she said made Qian Jinfeng almost die of anger. She said in a clear and slow tone, Auntie, why don't you rob someone? Qian Jinfeng replied angrily. Is 300 too much? If we weren't renting you a place, could you earn as much money as you do? 300 it is. Not a cent less. If you don't rent, there are plenty others who will. This she-devil Yin went too far. She earned 300 yuan a day, but now she doesn't even want to spend 300 yuan on rent. Yin smiled lightly. Auntie, then you should rent it to someone else. What? Qian Jinfeng looked at Yin in disbelief. Was Yin not renting it? No, Yin, what do you mean? Yin continued. Since your corner is in high demand, I'll give it to others. I have business to attend to, goodbye. She's leaving? Yin just left like that? Qian Jinfeng then remembered that Yin hadn't brought any tables and chairs over today. Qian Jinfeng panicked and yelled. Yin, do you mean you're not renting it? Yin's voice floated back with the wind. Yes, not renting. Not renting? Qian Jinfeng panicked, and her legs went soft. Watching Yin getting further away, she shouted anxiously. Yang, don't leave. If you think it's too expensive, I'll take 200 from you. If it really doesn't work, 100 is also fine, 50, 30, 20. But Yin showed no sign of turning back. Qian Jinfeng stamped her foot and nearly cried. Even 10 would be fine. But all that responded to her was a gentle breeze. People always want more than they can have. Li Wei walked over. Mom, I told you a long time ago, Yin is not a fool. She will not let others slaughter her. 300. Even her own son wanted to scold Qian Jinfeng when he heard the number. Let alone Yin. Qian Jinfeng said angrily. You always take sides against your mother. Just wait and see. That fox Yin will definitely come back and beg me. Unless she doesn't want to do business anymore. By then, don't say 300. One won't rent to her even if she offers 600. Li Wei said. What if Yin has already found another place? Mom, don't forget, we are not the only ones who run a shop on this street. And Yin was just storing some tables and chairs, and it didn't take up much space. A rent of 1 yuan a month is already quite high. Upon hearing these words, Qian Jinfeng drooped completely. Yeah. Why didn't she think about these things? Wang Meifeng took Yang Guobao back to the city. When Yang Changjing was about to open the door after hearing the knock on the courtyard, Zhou Suhua stopped him. Wait, let me see who it is first. When she lifted the curtain and saw Wang Meifeng leading Yang Guobao, Zhou Suhua's face immediately sank. No one is allowed to open the door today. I must make Wang Meifeng admit her mistake. Zhou Suhua sat on the sofa in the living room, angry. I told her long ago that the 3-0 barefoot doctor in the countryside was no good. She didn't listen to me. Now there's a problem. She knows to come back. Huh? What was she doing before? Chapter 138, Making Skincare Products. Visiting to say thanks. Zhou Suhua was on the brink of being enraged to death by Wang Meifeng. What a wasteful woman. Even though she went to college, she was fooled by a naive girl. This is a total disgrace to her. Is the divine doctor inferior to a naive girl? The more Zhou Suhua thinks about it, the angrier she gets. Torn between his wife and his mother, Yang Changjing is caught in a dilemma. Mom, now that Meifeng has realized her mistake, please forgive her. Realized her mistake? Zhou Suhua snorts coldly. Does she look like she's sorry? First, she wants to leave without saying a word. And now she wants to come back just like that. Does she think our young family's doors are that easily accessible? This time, if one don't make her suffer a little, she will never understand who is the mother-in-law and who is the wife. Saying this, Zhou Suhua's eyes suddenly teared up. Poor little Guobao, such an innocent child, suffered for 3 whole months with her mother out there. Guobao's health was already bad, yet he was tormented by Wang Meifeng. Without a doubt, young Guobao's condition has now worsened. Hence Wang Meifeng must have brought young Guobao back home. Yang Changjing sighed. For Guobao's sake, could you bear to see him standing outside? Yang Guobao is the eldest grandson of the Yang family. Of course Zhou Suhua couldn't bear it. Yet she was just so angry. Every time she thought about Wang Meifeng not listening to her elders, she became even angrier. She is Guobao's grandmother. Would she harm Guobao? If it weren't for Wang Meifeng's stubbornness, would Guobao have to go through all this sufferings? Zhou Suhua picked up her cup and sipped some tea. Let's wait a bit more. Standing outside for a while won't kill them. Seeing his mother like this, Yang Changjing was upset, pacing back and forth in the room, wanting to go open the door, but not daring to do so. Outside, young Guobao was peeping towards the inside, anxiously saying, "Mom, why is no one opening the door? Is Grandma not at home?" Wang Meifeng knew her mother-in-law's temper. She brushed young Guobao's small head. "Let's wait a bit more. Grandma will come and open the door for us soon." "Okay." Young Guobao nodded. Mother and son waited outside for 10 more minutes. Still no one came to open the door. Some acquaintances passed by, called out, "Meifeng's back. What's the matter? No one at home or you're being denied entry?" Wang Meifeng's mother-in-law was notoriously dominating. And this time Wang Meifeng was in the wrong too. She was wrong to take young Guobao away regardless of anyone else's opinion. Wang Meifeng smiled and said, "I think there's no one home. 111 Wait a bit more." The acquaintance carried on. "How is Guobao now? Is he better?" Wang Meifeng nodded. "Guobao is healed now." Young Guobao immediately puffed up his chest. "That's right, Aunt Zhou, I'm all healed now." Upon hearing this, Aunt Zhou looked at young Guobao in astonishment. "Really? Not fooling me?" Wang Meifeng replied. "How could one possibly deceive you about such a thing? There are only 2 things in the world that you can't hide. One is poverty. The other is sickness." Aunt Zhou carefully looked at Guobao's little face. Guobao used to always be ill, so his face was pale and dull, looking like a sickly child. But now Guobao looked indeed different. Not only has his little face turned rosy, but his big shiny eyes, like a kitten's, exuded vitality. Who would consider him a sick child now? My goodness! Aunt Zhou couldn't help exclaiming. That barefoot doctor really is something so talented. A disease that doctors in the city couldn't cure was healed by a barefoot doctor. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, Aunt Zhou wouldn't have believed it. Yang Guobao patted his chest. "Exactly, my sister and I. Yang is really great." He indeed looked happier than when Aunt Zhou was praising him. Aunt Zhou said again, "Meifeng, I heard from your mother-in-law that the barefoot doctor is just a teenage girl. Is this true?" Wang Meifeng nodded. "It's true. Yang is just 17 years old this year, but her medical skills are outstanding. Without her, Guobao wouldn't be here today." Hearing this, Aunt Zhou was filled with admiration. "What a marvel! Meifeng, it was your good fortune to meet this little doctor. You must remember to thank her appropriately." "Yes," Wang Meifeng continued. "Don't worry, one will." Because the conversation was across a courtyard, Zhou Suhua didn't hear it very clearly. She could only vaguely make out Divine Doctor. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.